And now, introducing the produce aficionado of the Baltimore area. Yesterday, he told me to put my onions away. Today, he asked me to inspect his kiwis. Hold on to your plums. He is Glenn Clark.
All right, good morning. It is Glenn Clark Radio. Today's show is brought to you by the Baltimore Police Department. Join a proud new generation of Baltimore police and make an active difference in your community. Start with competitive wages and excellent benefits on day one. Join for good at bpdrecruit.org. We have an insanely busy Wednesday show on tap for you. Coming up later this hour, Pat Ricard joins us after he re-signed with the Baltimore Ravens. Later in the hour, Marcus Spears, former Raven, now with ESPN. Later in the show, new Ravens safety Marcus Williams will join us for the first time. And the biggest guest of them all, yes, Drew Forrester will be with us this morning as well. So a lot to do on the program today. I'm going to get Would You Rather Wednesday scenarios up at some point as well because I got them. A betting-themed Would You Rather Wednesday brought to you by Glory Days Grill. There is just so much happening on this particular program. Ravens apparently hosting a couple of pass rush types today in Owings Mills. Arden Key, Rasheem Green, neither that are significant, but, you know, they could be helpful pieces. Zadarius Smith, we now know, will definitely not be coming back as he ends up with the Vikings and indeed got more money as we expected. He had a press conference this morning and didn't really say much of anything about the Ravens situation, just sort of said it didn't work out, and so it is. I won my bet. I bet on a spring training baseball game yesterday. Y'all laughed at me. Big winner over here. $27. Yeah. Take that, Oster.
Family's getting a KFC bucket.
That's right. Well, we will be getting Royal Farms chicken.
Yeah.
That's
Royal Farms
that's the way
bucket.
It works.
Way better.
That's
way better.
It is much
It is
better,
way
frankly.
better.
That's not a. We don't even have to say that for shtick. Yes, it is. If it's the shoot, it's real.
Oh, yeah. A work. It's not a work.
Not a work. Exactly.
It's not
right.
a work.
Not exactly right. But that's Paul Valley. Paul was pissing everybody off in Orioles Twitter last night and
it's ridiculous.
Fighting with everybody. I hope that we'll have time to get to that on the show today. We just have so much to do. Speaking of which, I don't want to waste any time with this. We had to do this just a little bit earlier on because of his schedule as he gets settled after his big introductory press conference last night. But a pleasure to spend a few minutes this morning with the new head coach of the University of Maryland, Kevin Willard. Let's kick things off today by chatting with him here on GCR. Well, joining us now, he is, of course, the new head basketball coach at the University of Maryland. He's Coach Kevin Willard. Coach, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's great to chat with you. Did anybody end up taking you up on your offer to go get a beer last night?
Unfortunately, I had my two kids with me, and I had to get them back for school this morning. I'm heading actually on my way back down to Maryland right now. So, unfortunately, I couldn't have a beer with anyone, but I'm looking forward to it tonight.
That'll be a great opportunity to get to know some folks around these parts. Coach, so much I want to talk to you about. I was just wondering if I could start. We're, of course, in Baltimore, and, when I was thinking about maybe your ties to the area, Akil Carr's name came to mind, and he was such an icon. And I know you've never actually got the chance to coach him, but can you take me back and tell me about what it was, maybe the first time you ever saw him and why you were like, man, I know he's short, but I give this kid a chance to play in the Big East.
Yeah, the Crime Stopper. Akil was – I first watched him when he was a junior in a packed high school gym, and, I was just mesmerized with, what he could do with the basketball and what he could do and how he had so much finesse and he had so much, he had so much confidence and, he just got I just loved the way he played. And, at the time when I was at Seton Hall, I was looking for someone to energize and be someone to come in that people wanted to watch. And I had an assistant in Chris Pompey that was from Baltimore and Baltimore in the D.C. area. And, he got me down there. And I just loved the way Akil played.
Well, unfortunately, it didn't get the opportunity. But, no, you're right. He was a phenomenal player to watch. With that in mind, Baltimore kids, right? Juju Reese, of course. I was checking out. I know his mom a little bit, Angel, and she mentioned that you might have a little bit of a family connection with Juju and his aunt being at Pitt at the same time that you were and playing on the women's team. And she mentioned that you had actually recruited him to try to get him to Seton Hall. Can you take me through your relationship with the Reeses and the importance of trying to make sure that he sticks around at Maryland and maybe whether or not you have a little bit of confidence because of the relationship you have with them?
Yeah, no, I mean I think what's been interesting is, and I'm a big fan of Julian's and the way he plays and what a great young player he is. And I mean, if you just look at the family and the tradition that the family has, it's a wonderful family. And you look at what his sister's doing on
No doubt.
on the women's team. It's kind of mind blowing how good of an athletic family and just how good of people they are. I think it's what's kind of interesting is that I know a lot of kids on the roster. I either tried to recruit them because being in this area or played against them. I've played against a couple guys on the roster, so I'm very familiar with the kids on the roster. They're all terrific young men. At Sutton Turge, I think really did a great job of recruiting not only good players but terrific young men. And I'm looking forward to kind of getting and working with all of them.
No doubt. Obviously, there's a Baltimore thing around here that we're a little selfish when it comes to Baltimore kids on the roster, Coach. We like all of them. I promise you that. But it's just there's something a little bit different for us when there's a successful
Baltimore
kid.
I definitely get it.
Coach, you of course, speaking of families, you come from a basketball family yourself. I was wondering if you could share with me the best thing you ever learned from your dad and all the years that you were around him as a father, as a coach, as a mentor. Is there one thing that you do on a day-to-day basis and you're like, oh, God, I know, that's the only reason I do it is because of Dad?
Oh, geez. We could be here forever. No, I think the biggest thing that I've learned from my father, and it was because I played for him. I was very lucky to play for my father. My father was very unlucky for me to play for him. I got to see firsthand how he balanced running a high-level program and being a father. People always say, what's the hardest part of your job? And I always say, being a father. Because this job demands so much of you, but you cannot forget about raising your kids or being a good husband. And I think my father was he was a phenomenal coach. He ran great programs, but he was a phenomenal dad. He never stopped being a father. He never stopped being there. And every day I wake up, the first thing I say is, I always say to myself, let's go out, work everybody. Then all of a sudden, before I walk out the door, you have to be a father. And that's something that I think about every day. And it's something that he taught me, and I learned from him, and it's something that's just ingrained in me, and I make sure that I'm being a great husband, a great father, and I'm running a high-level program.
We saw your two boys at the press conference. Do you see in them interest? Do you see in them oh no, they definitely want to follow in their dad's and their grandfather's footsteps? Do you try to dissuade them from that?
No. They will have nothing to do with this business. They are both way smarter than I ever could dream of being. They both actually love playing baseball, which is great for me because I can sit in the outfield and watch them.
It's cool.
The only bad thing about baseball, it's just not timed. I wish I would have done a better job of getting them into a timed sport.
You spend all of a sudden you look down your watch. We've been here for 3 hours.
I've been there for 3 hours, and I made 800 recruiting calls, and we're only in the top of the third inning.
Oh man!
But they absolutely love baseball, and I think they're really excited. It's really hard on your family when you move, especially when we've been at such a special place like Seton Hall for so long. But they're excited about being part of the Terp family.
He is Coach Kevin Willard. He's with us here on Glenn Clark Radio. Coach, you brought up Mark Turgeon, and he won an awful lot while he was here at Maryland. But, was never fully embraced by this fan base because of the lack of postseason success over the years. And there were some pundits who had said, hey, that might dissuade coaches from considering the Maryland job. Was that something that you thought about at all, or did you sort of say, hey, no, that's my expectation for the program. I'm embracing those things. I'm here to go win big-time championship caliber basketball.
No, yeah, absolutely. I think, I'm good friends with Mark. I think Mark did a phenomenal job here. Again, consistency is not, for some reason in America today, being consistent is not a good value, which I don't know why that happened or how that happened in this country. But Mark was very consistent. His teams played very hard and won a lot of games. For me, when I looked at, what was going on and how all this went down was this is the University of Maryland. This is a big time job. I really believe a top 10 job. If you look at the tradition, you look at the great players that have come through this program, NBA players, great college players, and then you look at the coaches. Lefty obviously started this, but then you look at what Coach Williams was able to do and how he put this university on a level that's very hard to do at any school. When you look at the consistency of what the coaches have done, what the great players that have played here, that's a place that you want to be, and that's some place that is obviously a great job.
I bring that up, and I'm sure I'm going to be the first person to ever mention your 1-5 record in the NCAA tournament, Coach. I'm sure. I duck as I say that, right? Do you believe that being at a place like Maryland, given the resources here, that level of success and that expectation level that we're talking about from this fan base, that it is attainable at a place like Maryland because of the resources that you have for basketball?
Yeah, absolutely. And I also think it's as you get into the NCAA tournament, one of the things that we had a hard time at Seton Hall. Once we got into the NCAA tournament, we became we were consistently being in the NCAA tournament. But one of my issues was, we had to build I didn't do a good enough job building a roster that when we got into the NCAA tournament, that we could be ready to play in it. And I think it's something that, obviously my 2020 team who won the Big East championship,
right,
would have been a 2 seed. I think two things you have to have, and I look at all the teams in the NCAA tournament in the Sweet 16 right now, you have to have a guy that can get you a bucket getter, and you have to have a roster that can sustain 20 league games, 3 more tough physical games in your rival games, because that is more than anything is, I look at Purdue. Purdue has 2 big guys that can get them a bucket at any time, and then they play 8 guys solid minutes. And then I look at Michigan. Michigan has a guy that can get them a bucket at any time. Hunter Dickerson, you just throw it down there, he's getting you a bucket. And then they have a roster that's, they play 7, 8 more guys that are balanced out. And I think that's something that, the 2 years I had bucket getters, unfortunately the year in 16 we got sent out west.
Denver,
as a 6 seed, when we probably should have been a 4 seed. And then the year the tournament got canceled, we had an unbelievable bucket getter, and we were unbelievably deep. And as I've kind of gone through the NCAA tournament, and this year we kind of just limped in. We just we lost our point guard halfway through, and then we lost our power forward right before the tournament. Was you have to be fresh going into the NCAA tournament. And I look at all the teams that are really striving. Providence with Ed Cooley and Villanova, the 2 Big Ten teams. Those are teams that are deep, but they also have guys that can get them a bucket at any time. And I think the biggest thing as a coach is you have to learn from your failures. And what I've learned over the last 3 or 4 years is the fact that you got to have someone that can get you a bucket at the end of the game, because you're going to get it's hard to score in the NCAA tournament. You're going to play against a very good coach, a very good defensive team. Make sure you have a guy that you can give the ball to at some point that can get you a bucket.
That's interesting. I really appreciate the perspective, Coach. It's a really honest answer about that, and I greatly appreciate that. Coach
Glenn, unfortunately, you're only going to get an honest answer.
I have heard that about you. I have heard that you are the type. Coach Kevin Willard with us here on GCR. If I could follow up on that, there was something that really fascinated me, speaking of honest answers, that you brought up last night, was the idea that you mold your style around the players that you have. For the nerdy fans that really want to dive in and dive deep on Kevin Willard, is there an example you could give us of maybe like one team that you ran a certain style with certain players, and another team that you ran a certain style with that was a little bit different because of the players that you have, to allow the nerds in the audience to sort of dive in on what to expect from Kevin Willard?
Yeah, defensively, we've always been one of the better teams in the country.
Yeah.
I just think I think you have to embrace where you are. And Seton Hall is just outside New York City. I look at Maryland; it's just outside D.C., outside Baltimore. It's my personality. I think it's always why they've always been great defensive teams. But offensively, I've evolved in this business where I'll give you my 2016 team. I had a sophomore point guard in Isaiah Whitehead, who was really turned himself into an unbelievable point guard as the season went on. And what I did is I evolved my offense to give him the best opportunities to not only score, but I gave him opportunities to create offense for the other 4 sophomores that we started. We started 5 sophomores that year, and ended up winning the Big East tournament. And again, I thought we got a little bit of a bad seed in the NCAA tournament, getting sent out west. But I took that team and I really gave the ball to Isaiah. Ended up being the MVP of the Big East tournament. And we were very pick and roll heavy. I mean, extremely pick and roll heavy. I mean, we ran more pick and rolls probably than any other team in the country at that time. Well, the next year, Isaiah went pro, got drafted by the Nets, and I had a 6'8" center that was an absolute beast, in Angel Delgado.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
and we remember.
Yes, and he had to get the ball. And
Yep.
so, for us to be successful, we had to work much more inside to out. And so I couldn't be as pick and roll heavy. And so I took all the things that we were running the year before, and I had to get rid of them. And then we went to a much more post offense, inside out, and a much more ISO offense, because I had a young small forward that was really good, Desi Rodriguez, a lefty, tough, hard-nosed kid, and then Kadeem Carrington, who was my point guard, who was more of a scoring guard. So we went to a much more of an isolation offense, post offense. And so that we went from playing pretty fast tempo with Isaiah to a much slower tempo with throwing the ball into Angel, because I had to make sure Angel got the ball. And I think it's just something that I've learned, that you have to adapt your style. It gives your best players a chance to be successful. Angel Delgado ended up being the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar Award winner for the best center in the country. And I think it's something that I've learned from other coaches, that you're going to get good players if your best players are getting high awards.
Coach, I know I'm going to need to let you go, because you got 1,000 of these that you're doing today. If I could knock out 2 quickly with you. One, timing-wise, in the past, we used to say things like, hey, it might take 3 to 4 years for a coach to really get going, because you got to bring your players in, and it's going to take a little while with recruiting. Has the transfer portal changed that? I mean, we see what, is happening at Iowa State, and I'm not trying to put, a Sweet 16 or bust type of scenario on next year, but has it sped up the process a little bit more? Can it be done a bit more quickly because of the nature of the transfer portal in launching a program in a new place for a new coach?
Glenn, it's a great question. And again, here's an honest answer. I think you have to be really careful with the portal.
Okay.
I think it can definitely help you in a quick year. But if you're going to try to develop a culture, and you're going to try to develop consistency where year in, year out, you're going to have teams that can compete for a high level. You have to do that by recruiting really high-level kids, because you have to be able to we brought in 4 kids on the portal this year that helped us get to the tournament that were tremendous. But I also had 9 kids in the program that had been with me for 4 or 5 years.
Sure.
So when they came into the program, the kids taught the culture, the kids taught the work ethic, because they've been taught that by the seniors before them, by the seniors before them. So the transfer portal can definitely help you. It can definitely change the trajectory of your program very quick. But I don't think it's something and I've talked to a lot of guys that have used it. It's not something where, everyone's a little scared that, if you keep bringing guys from different places year in, year out, you're going to be inconsistent. And I know fan bases, more than anything, hate inconsistency. And I think, you still have to build your culture. You have to use the transfer portal strategically. Get the right kids in that you think that can help your roster. And also, you have to be very careful of the kids that you've had on your roster that have been with you 3, 4 years, sometimes 5 years. You have to be very careful that you are not bringing kids in that all of a sudden are going to get playing time against kids who have helped you win games, have helped you build a culture. So absolutely, the transfer portal can be a weapon, but I think you have to use it very, very strategically.
I appreciate that, too. And I'll wrap with this, Coach. We saw the lovely gift that the folks at Under Armour gave you, and you're an Under Armour guy. I'm sure you're going to love that a great deal. But if, say, there was a Maryland fan who wanted to give you a more practical welcome to town gift, something that maybe you were more likely to use just so we can get to know you a little bit better, what would be the type of thing that would be like the perfect Kevin Willard welcome to Maryland gift?
I know everyone's going to give me a nice bottle of red wine, and
there you go.
You'll be friends with me for the rest of the life.
There you go.
I'm a simple guy, Glenn. I love to coach basketball. I love to go play around the golf with my alumni and my friends. And most of the time, I'm trying to be a dad and a husband. Give me a nice sit down and have a beer with me, and let's have some fun and bust each other's balls. And to me, that's all I need.
We'll look forward to doing that at some point. Coach Kevin Willard, really appreciate you taking the time. I know how insanely busy you are this week. Congratulations on the gig. Thank you for doing this, and look forward to doing it again here real soon, all right?
No, Glenn, thanks for having me, and great talking to you.
Really enjoyed that with Kevin Willard. Look, I can't guarantee anything. Kevin Willard's got to go win basketball games, and that's going to be how he's judged. He's obviously, between the press conference last night and, other than a couple of flubs on names, and I get it, that it happens, and basketball is way more important than flubbing a name in a press conference. Between that and this interview, you can't help but be really impressed. The honesty on the question about his issues in the NCAA tournament, that's about as refreshing and remarkable an answer as I could have asked for on that question. So I greatly appreciated that. I can't guarantee anything in relation to Kevin Willard's success. It is hard not to be impressed by the first 24 hours that he has spent as the University of Maryland basketball coach. He has hit so many correct notes so far. Long way to go. Got to, actually play basketball, win the games, all of those things. But he has hit so many correct notes. As far as his answer regarding the length of time it takes to build and whether the transfer portal can speed that up a little bit, I guess what I would say would be I know what he's saying. It is more important to lay your own foundation than to just hope that you get the right combination of players and you can kind of make it work. It's not as if it can't be done that way, but it's important to lay your own foundation. Okay. I agree. It can't be a 5-year process. It just can't. It can't be a 5-year process. But I get the point of what he's attempting to say in terms of how he wants to build a program. So I appreciate that. Appreciate it. I know a lot of you like the answers that he gave about his family. And I did enjoy that, him saying he doesn't want to see his sons get into the business. But hearing about his dad, all that stuff, enjoyed all of it. Really enjoyed that conversation with Kevin Willard. We'll look forward to doing it again in the future. Hey, today's show is also brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. We're going to be there for the national championship game. Myself and former Terp Rodney Elliott hanging out with you. Great giveaways. We will be there on April 4th from 8:30 to 11:30 for the title game. Don't forget, any single NCAA tournament game, if you go to the FanDuel Sportsbook and bet at least $50 on any game, and you're a Live Rewards member, you can register your bet to win a $500 bracket bonus. 10 of you are going to win a $500 bonus, whether your bet hits or not. But you got to be a Live Rewards member, so get down there, sign up. Sweet 16 gets underway tomorrow night. Again, $50 bet. You can win a $500 bracket bonus from the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel. We continue on a very busy Wednesday edition of GCR. I'm very excited that our next guest is going to be sticking around in Baltimore for another few years. We were a little nervous there for a second. He has been an incredible part of our community. He's been very involved with the group that you know that I care about deeply, Show Your Soft Side. In fact, I'll make the announcement right now. I haven't said this before. I will be emceeing Project Runway coming up here in April, and I'm really excited about that. I'm even more excited, is Pat Ricard, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Pat, it's Glenn. It's great to chat with you, man. Thank you for taking the time for us, and congratulations on the new deal to stay in Baltimore.
Thank you. That was quite the intro, man. I'm happy to stay in Baltimore.
It's great to hear from you, dude. I'm grateful that you're going to be around because I'm grateful for everything you've done so far. You've been truly an incredible part of this community. Pat, were you nervous at all during this process? And I know you would have been excited wherever you ended up, but Was there a part of you that was just like, dude, could we please make this work out so I can just stay here where I've started a family and things are good for me? Like, what was this like for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was more anxious of just the possibility of having to leave Baltimore and start a new journey in a new city, new team, new teammates, all that stuff. But honestly, I was pretty good. I think I was actually more nervous once we got the offer from Baltimore.
Really?
Because once we got it, and I'm like, oh man, like now, like I want to make this work. Like I want to stay, and I want to, because negotiations, they can go one and the other way. You don't know what the team is going to offer. You don't know, if we push too hard or something happens, and then the team can just like, you know what, like this is it, or they can just pull it, or things can go either way. So I think that's when I was more nervous because we were negotiating for a couple of days. It took like 3 or 4 days to really get the deal done. So during that time I was nervous, but the start of free agency, I was in Napa Valley with some of the guys on the team and just drinking wine and enjoying the nice scenery out there. So
not a bad place to spend a few days.
Definitely an interesting week though, nonetheless.
All right, so were you involved? Like, are you the type that says, dude, I can't get involved with this. I don't want to hear what anybody says about me. I just want to let the agent handle everything. Or did you want to be involved in the process and know all the nitty-gritty details of what was going on?
I definitely wanted updates from my agent and also my wife too. I think it was just good to be transparent and how they're preparing for me for the free agency and what teams we're getting interest from, and then obviously when we start negotiating, I needed to know everything. And it's my life, so I feel like I had to get pretty involved. I even had to call Coach Harbaugh up and try to talk to him and just figure out a way. It got serious, man. Like I wanted to be back that bad that I called Harbs and I was like, hey man, like I'm trying to get this deal done. Like let's figure this thing out. And he did, man. He helped me and he talked to Eric and we all figured out the final contract together pretty much.
Look, maybe I'm naive. That sounds pretty significant. I haven't heard a lot of stories like that over the years, Pat, of going that route in order to get it done. Was it because it was personal to you at that point that you said, hey man, I need to know that my head coach is sticking his nose out for me, that he wants me here that badly?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I was in Napa with some of the guys, and one of them was Justin Tucker, and he told me, he's like, hey, like, when I was first trying to get my deal done, I ended up calling Harbaugh, and I talked to him and stuff, and, that's how we pretty much we got it done. So I'm like, damn, like maybe I should do that. So I ended up doing that, and it helped. So sometimes being a free agent, teams don't really know if you really want to be back or so they don't hear it from you. They just hear your agent talking. And after I talked to Harbaugh, the biggest thing he said to me was like, man, I'm just so happy that you truly want to be back and you really want to be back because it means a lot for us to reinvest for a guy for another 3 years. And so I think that was the biggest thing that he took away from me calling him.
All right, I want to talk more about your Napa trip in a second, but we'll wrap this part with this. A lot of people talk about the culture in the building in Baltimore and how different it is in other places. And I'm sure you talked to some other guys as you were going through this about the possibility of leaving, but is that part of it? Does that speak to the culture that a head coach that could just sort of say, look, man, I don't care. Just give me the players. I'll go line them up, draw up the plays, figure out a way to make it work. Was willing to be as invested in the process as apparently John Harbaugh was. Is that more of a testament to the culture that exists within the Ravens organization?
Yeah, I think so. I think, I've always heard that the Ravens are a top organization, top 5, top 10, whatever it is. I don't know. That's all I know.
Right.
I think it's a fair organization. Like, I feel like when guys come there, they feel welcomed right away. They feel like they can be themselves, and you truly can. Like, I heard guys from other teams, like, if for like any media stuff, you have to get it cleared by the team first, all that. Like,
right.
I had one guy tell me like he had his hood on in the building, and people that worked there were like, "Hey, like, do you not want to be here?" Stuff like that. And the Ravens, like, no, like, I can wear my hood, and they did not care. It's not. They know that I'm there. I'm there for for a reason and what I'm doing. And, I can answer any media. Like, you can really just be yourself. And I think guys really resonate with that. And then, like I said, with the family thing, like, they love having your family around, and Harbaugh, like, considers us a big family. So, like, we can call him and talk to him just like, I wouldn't say, like, quote unquote, like a dad, but, like, he will listen to you. Like, he will actually listen to you and try to help you in any way he really can. And, some coaches they just are coaches, they don't do that kind of stuff. And that's another reason why I really want to stay, is just because the culture is it's a very good place to work. It's a very good place to grow as a person and grow a family, have your family be a part of it, because the organization wants you to. They want you to grow as a person. And, I feel like if you go some places I've heard, like, you can't grow because you can't be yourself. So, like, how are you going to grow and also be a better player?
Man, that's awesome, dude. That's you're giving us chills as you describe it, bro. Like, that is really cool, man.
Sure.
Pat Ricard is back with the Ravens, and he's with us here on GCR. We want to get a plug in. ProjectRunway.org is the website. We're hoping Pat and Haley are going to be able to be a part of it if the schedule allows for them. But it benefits Show Your Soft Side and the incredible work that they do for animals in our community. And I know that's something that you and I have talked about a couple of times over the years, Pat, and how you got involved and what a softie you truly are, correct?
Yeah, I'm actually cuddling with – I had two of my cats on me and started this phone call, and now one of them left, but the other one I'm currently petting right now.
That's awesome, man. That is awesome. All right, so let's talk about Napa, all right? Because knowing you and seeing you and the type of I would think Pat Ricard probably more of a beer drinker if I was just imagining what you were all about. Have you always been a wine guy? Where did this come from? And, like, take me through how this trip came about, who was involved, and what was it you? Was it the wives? Like, how did this whole thing happen?
Yeah, so me personally, I don't really drink much alcohol because...
Okay. Well, you're a high-level athlete, right?
Yeah, so, like, it definitely affects me, so I don't like drinking that much. When I retire, yeah, I'm going to drink a little bit more, but right now, if I do drink, it's hard alcohol, so like tequila, or it's like a seltzer or something that just has low calories, stuff like that. So I don't drink wine very much at all. So pretty much how this trip came about was the Zeitlers, the wonderful, amazing Kevin and Sarah Zeitlers.
They are awesome, by the way. They're so cool.
They love wine. Yeah, they're great. They're amazing people. They love wine, and they've been to Napa, I think, 3 or 4 times now. And they wanted to do another trip there. And because they've gone a couple times, when you go to certain wineries and stuff, you have to get on a list. And that's the only way you're allowed to go to these wineries. And they're the ones who had, like, all this access. They knew some guy there that was able to get them, like, set up all these trips to these wineries and stuff like that. So really it was Sarah and Kevin Zeitler were the ones who, like, booked and planned the whole trip for us. And it was the wives that really talked. I went, Ben Powers and his wife JC went. The Bosens were going to go, but free agency, they decided to stay put and figure that out. So they ended up not going. The Tuckers went with Justin and his wife Amanda. They were there. They love wine. And then there was another couple that the Zeitlers know from another team.
Okay.
And we had an Airbnb, and it was like in the lower Childs Mountain Valley, so like right outside of Napa, and it was like literally on top of a mountain. The house was, and the the driveway to the house was like a mile up. Like it took a mile just to get to the house. It was like super windy, mountain roads, super narrow. You could fall off a cliff. No cell service.
Whoa.
And yeah, and we were there for 4 or 5 days and just going to wineries every day.
Okay,
and after 2 days, I was done. I could not drink any more wine. I got sick from it. I got a cold right now.
Really?
Yeah, I got a sore throat and congested. But I was mostly there just for the sceneries and the good times.
Sure, I get that. Are you the type that, like, now that you've done it, you don't need to drink wine? Like, when in the scenario that you might drink alcohol, or again after your career is over, does this scare you off? Did you just say, dude, I ain't doing this again? I got sick from it. Forget that. I'm a beer guy. Like, how will your relationship with wine be after this trip to Napa?
I think it was a positive one. I don't think I'm going to drink 4 days in a row like some of those guys did, but like I think it was a good educational learning process for me to really kind of like, now I know what a Chardonnay is and a Pinot Noir and a Cabernet and like kind of how like wine's made and stored and all that stuff. And, you know, at the wineries, you know, they're all tasting. So like you're inclined to buy some bottles. So, you know, the ones we really like to be bought. So I have more wine than I've ever had in my life. So they're going to get shipped all to my house. So
nice.
I think it was a positive experience. I think I'll kind of sip on wine here and there in the future.
Mrs. Clark and I like to do a B&B weekend every year, and we always try to plan it around somewhere where there's a nearby winery because it's her jam. I am the type that like tries a very minimal amount of wine and eats a lot of cheese when we're at these places.
Bro, it's literally I never had more cheese and meats in my life than I did this past week.
Bro, that sounds like a pretty good week.
Yeah, it was pretty much my diet.
That's awesome. Did you get to smash the grapes at all while you were out there? Did you get to do it?
Oh no, I wish I never got the opportunity.
Oh man, that would have been dope. That would have been dope, dude. I would have been all in. I've never done it before. I would love to do something like that at some point. Pat Ricard with us here on GCR. Pat, you know, is the phrase "unfinished business"? Does that strike with you at all in coming back to Baltimore and knowing, you know, obviously things kind of went the wrong way injury-wise for you guys a year ago, but how close you've been, how significant of a franchise you've been a part of? Does the words "unfinished business" in relation to a Super Bowl, does that strike with you as you come back?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think we, like you said, we've gotten so close to being in playoffs and feeling like, you know, 2019 was our year to really go to the Super Bowl, and then we had that awful loss against the Titans, and then next year we go to the playoffs, we beat the Titans, and then we have a crazy game in Buffalo, and then this year, you know, we're number one seed in the AFC, and then all of a sudden we just lose 6 straight. It was a really tough way to end the year for, I think, the season itself was just a challenging season. You know, every single game we had to fight our way to win. We had never had any games that we just straight up won. Every game was a fight. So for us to just end the way it did, it was just, you know, a hard blow. And I think we're starting to rebuild our team. We're starting to get healthy again, and I think we're, you know, almost going to be overlooked now because, you know, we have the Bengals, who are obviously a really great team. You have Pittsburgh with a new quarterback. You have the Browns with obviously Deshaun Watson now, and now the AFC West is just an absolute freaking who even knows. So I don't think the Ravens are going to be like. I think we're going to be the dark horse. Honestly, I don't think people are looking at the Ravens as like a top 5 team in the AFC right now. I really don't think they are. So I'm excited to get back to work and knowing that I'm going to be here for the long haul and, you know, make that push to really get to where we want to go.
And the Browns are the new betting favorites in the AFC North. I get it.
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson's a hell of a quarterback. Nobody's debating that. But, like, hey, man, you know, some other teams have done some things over the last couple of years.
It's literally like that every single year. I feel like the Browns are always, like, the number one team, and yet the season always shakes out to be what it is.
It has been that case. It has been that case, man. There's no doubt about that. Look, man, I'm not trying to get you in trouble. I'm not trying to get like somebody's got. I never want to be the guy that like somebody hears something you and I are just having fun, and somebody else is like, "Oh, what is he essing on this other?" Like, no, man, we're just talking. Settle down, calm. Everybody gets all worked up about everything anymore. It's really frustrating. All right, so something you're gonna splurge on. You got a little bit more cash now moving forward. Give me something that you've been waiting on. Something that you've been. You know, I'm sure you want to do things for other people, and you get, you know, the family now, the whole thing. But is there a gift for Pat? Is there maybe like a meat smoke or something that like you want to do for yourself moving forward now that you got the new contract?
I think the biggest thing is we've always wanted to more so settle down and buy a house in Baltimore.
Okay.
We've never done that. We've always rented. We've always had townhouse and apartments. You know, I was undrafted my first 3 years, so you just never know if I was going to get cut or whatever. And then I only signed a 2-year extension, obviously 2 years ago. So I think now I think that's the biggest thing. We're really excited to really start looking and try to get a house. Maybe my wife needs a car, so she has a almost a 10-year-old car now, so I think it's time for her to start looking to get a new car. And then besides that, I think the biggest thing to spoil myself is I really want a damn Tesla. I want it so bad.
Oh, I'd be so jealous.
Yeah, Ronnie Stanley has it's a crossover one. I think it's the X, I think it's called, or the Y. I think it's the X. Yeah, and it's so cool, dude. And especially now with gas prices being freaking ridiculously high, it just makes so much sense to get an electric car.
Bro.
But yeah, and what's really cool about Tesla too is I didn't know is you can go in there, completely customize and build your car, and only put down $250, and then you wait a year, and then a year later is when you pay for it.
Really?
And it locks you in for that price. So yeah, so it's kind of nice, you know. You can pretty much say like, I got my car, but then you don't pay for it for a whole year. It makes it a little bit better.
This makes me question you, though, because you could have done this a year ago knowing your contract was coming. Like, you totally could have thought this through a little bit more and, like, planned this out better, that you could have been getting into your Tesla today knowing that the contract was on the way.
Well, I had to convince my wife. She was not, like, a full board believer of the Tesla. So when actually this off-season, we saw a Tesla store, and I'm like, I'm bringing you in right now. And we, like, sat down with the guy, and she asked him every single question she had problems with, and every single one got, like, debunked. So I think she's now on board to get it.
That's great news. That is tremendous news. All right, we are hoping that Pat and Haley will be able to join us for Project Runway, because we know how much they care about Show Your Soft Side and the animals in our community, and we love that. Again, that is coming up. Once you go to projectrunway.org right now, and you can get your tickets for Project Runway at Pier 6 Pavilion this year. New location for the event on Friday, April 29th, benefiting Show Your Soft Side. Of course, it's, as I always say, it ain't Prick, it's P-Rick, P-R-I-C, 508 on Twitter. That's how you follow him. Pat, what else can I plug for you? The T-shirts, Instagram, what else can I get a plug in for?
Yeah, so back for that, Paul, what is it?
Project Runway, yes.
So we are going.
Nice.
We'll be there. Yeah, so they contacted us, and we're excited because my OTA is April 18th, I think it starts. So we'll be in the area. So we're like, yeah, we'll be there. So we're gonna be there. And I think Nick Boyle always goes.
Yep.
So
Yep.
Yeah, we're excited. It'll be awesome. Get to hold some kitties and walk down the runway. You know, strut my stuff.
That's awesome.
Show off the cats. But yeah, besides that, who listeners of the show know that I have a website. It's thepatrickricard.com. You can get a Pancake Pat T-shirt, Project Pat swag, hoodies, shirts. There's masks. There's posters. There's I have like Pokemon shirts, but you know, not Pokemon because I'm not trademarked by Pokemon. But I got a Pokemon shirt. I think it's called it's something. It doesn't say Pokemon. It says something else. I forget. But they're pretty cool, dude. They're pretty sweet. Again, it's thepatrickricard.com. I also got a Cameo, so if you guys need video shout-outs, you can check me out on Cameo. Besides that, man, that's about it.
Hey, dude, we are so happy for you, for your family, and for the city of Baltimore because you've done some wonderful things here, man. Looking forward to seeing you and talking to you more often. Always appreciate you taking the time for us, dude. Thank you, and can't wait for Project Runway. That's awesome news, man.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, brother. Patrick Ricard.
from the Baltimore Ravens. Whew. One of my favorites. You guys know that. And that's really wild, that story about him calling John Harbaugh. Like, I've just not heard that. I didn't know that Justin Tucker had done the same thing all those years ago. Like, hey, man, could you step in here? Could you get involved in making this happen? And John Harbaugh saying, yeah, I will.
And it's just another testament to the culture at the Castle. I mean, people talk about it all the time. That's why so many players come here and say they feel like they're meant to be Ravens. When they leave, they come back, sign those one-day contracts to retire as a Raven.
I am, I'm not trying to paint too much into it, right? The deal might have gotten done anyway, but I just don't know that that's something that happens everywhere. I just don't know that every player feels as though they can comfortably call a coach and say, hey, dude, I need to talk to you about this. This is where I want to be, and can you help make sure that this gets done?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm sure like most coaches would say, all right, whatever, give you the lip service. And as I said about Kevin Willard, winning is the thing that matters the most, of course.
Of course.
Like, that's what matters the most. But that ain't nothing. That ain't nothing. That is good stuff, man. I appreciate that. All right, you want to try giving Marcus a call? Oh, no, never mind. We're not going to get to any breaks today. Let me start doing some commercials here. Let me start doing them now because we are struggling today in terms of breaks. First hour of today's show also brought to you by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. Make the most out of every day in a Toyota RAV4, available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today. We move right along here on GCR as it's been a little while since we caught up with our next guest. Man, I loved chatting with him when he was here in Baltimore. He has become a media mogul at ESPN, the Swagoo, of course, the Swagoo and Perk podcast, among about a billion places you hear him. He is former Baltimore Raven, Mr. Marcus Spears, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Marcus, it's Glenn and Paul in Baltimore. It has been too long, man. Thank you so much for taking a couple of minutes for us.
Glenn, what up, man? Paul, how y'all doing, brother? Good to talk to y'all again.
Everything is good, man. How comfortable. Dude, I knew when you were here, I was like, man, this guy's special. How much fun are you having in this part of your life where you have become, and I hope you understand this, I'm not trying to be offensive, you weren't Michael Strahan, right? You're not in the Hall of Fame, but, like, you basically are Michael Strahan at this point in your life.
Oh, man. You know what, brother? Just relationships, man, and I still pinch myself at times. I got to be honest with you. I grew up in a family of hard workers, like every day, 9 to 5, 2 jobs at times. My first job was digging fence post holes with my grandfather in Alexandria, Louisiana. So I'm just appreciative of where I am, man. The NFL was phenomenal and loved playing in the league, and that got tiresome and hard because of health and all of that. But this phase that I'm in now in television, it feels like it's where everything has been leading me to.
Dude.
And I'm just enjoying it, man. I'm enjoying it. The relationships, talking about a game I know in and out. I done put my 10,000 hours in football. But being able to branch out and talk about basketball, talk about social, cultural issues and stuff like that has been fun. And it keeps me it actually keeps me invigorated. Like I wake up looking forward to things that may be talked about or given opinions, but also just working with great people, man.
That's awesome, man. You're so good at it, bro. Like, it's so insane how good you are at this and how personal. And we knew that from the time that we got to spend around you, man. You are truly one of the best, bro. And you've been awfully defensive of Lamar Jackson during your time at ESPN.
Yeah.
You've been one of the more defensive people when it comes to Lamar Jackson. When you hear some of the almost absurd criticisms that are thrown around about one of the most transcendent talents we have seen in the history of the game, what do you feel? Like, what we see you project, what are you feeling when you hear some of these criticisms about Lamar Jackson?
Oh, that people just love conventional. And when you say conventional, usually white quarterbacks that's tall and drop back guys that can throw the football far. And that's what's transitioning in the league. Now you have white guys, the Josh Allens, the Justin Herberts of the world that are crazy athletes, that are at the top of their games, and they're doing things, but you don't hear that same energy geared towards them. And I'm not making it a black-white issue, but Lamar came out of Louisville, the Heisman Trophy winner, playing quarterback. And there were teams that wanted to see if he wanted to switch positions.
Right.
And now that, fortunately for him and being in Baltimore, man, just knowing how great that organization is. I know Ozzie is no longer there, but Ozzie was there when I got there, and Bisciotti. It was a different experience, me leaving Dallas. And Harbaugh, and seeing how they've invested in his tools and skill set and kind of built the thing around him with Greg Roman as well, it's something that it's criticized because it's not the norm, and it's different. And he does things that are different and has a lot of success. And people don't like wrapping their head around that because they had a preconceived notion that it would fail.
Right.
And I think that's what you get with Lamar. You just get that venom because it was this idea of what he was going to be in the NFL, and he's obviously exceeded that. And even in the year last year where the team was ravaged by injury, Lamar still put on his cape a lot, even with his injuries, and was able to do it. And I criticized him for turning the football over as much as he was doing, and like I would do any other quarterback. But ultimately, when you look at teams throughout the league, and when you look at the NFL and how it's currently constructed and how difficult it is, and you guys have been covering it for a long time to win football games, the fact that this dude wins as much as he wins, playing the position, the fact that everybody on that team loves him and rallies around him, I just feel like that's never talked about enough. I feel like it's never talked about enough that the Ravens without Lamar Jackson, we don't know what they would be. And I know Tyler came in and did a phenomenal job in his backup role, but everybody was talking about, well, what about? I'm like, look,
stop.
man,
Yeah,
Lamar
stop.
Jackson is different,
right?
All right, and I've been to the point of saying he's the best player in the NFL. And obviously, you can make arguments for a lot of guys, but the way I tally that is every single Sunday, every team knows that if Lamar is not a superstar, they have an opportunity to beat the Ravens, and 98% of the time he is. So for me, it's what I'm watching, and you guys know that from covering me, man. What I see is what I'm going to say and give an opinion about. Like when I was in Baltimore and I was released and everybody was reaching out to me like, hey, man, you okay? And I'm like, bro, I sucked. The guy that was behind me was better. Like, that's what this business is. So I'm realistic and I'm critical, but I'm also going to, like all of these guys that play well that end up under a lot of scrutiny because it's not conventional, I'm always defending that, man.
I understand everything. Marcus Spears is with us here on GCR. You can watch him on NFL Live weekdays at 4 o'clock. Of course, Swagoo and Perk with him and Kendrick Perkins. I understand.
Sir.
I understand everything you're saying, Marcus. Let me follow it up by saying there will still be people that will say, okay, but you can't pay him like these other you can't pay him like Patrick Mahomes and like Josh Allen. You can't do that. And, you know, he's one hit away from his career being disrupted and all, you know, as if all these other quarterbacks aren't one hit away from their careers being disruptive. And look, it is weird to us that it hasn't gotten done yet, right? Like we're kind of confused about that in Baltimore. But what do you make of that specifically, the idea that you couldn't pay Lamar Jackson $45 million a year just because his style is different than a Patrick Mahomes or a Josh Allen or Matt Stafford, insert name here?
Well, you guys know me. My response to all of that is, well, go find somebody that's better.
Yeah. Good luck.
It's as simple as that for me. I understand. Like, fellas, we know. Like, we understand the narrative. Like, you can get hurt, and they use examples. Robert Griffin III, who was there. They use examples of guys that had early success, and then the injuries and all of that took a hold. We have never seen, and I will say this until I see another one, we have never seen a Lamar Jackson in the NFL. And people say, well, what about Michael Vick? Again, we have never seen a Lamar Jackson in the NFL. When Vick was playing, and I'm not talking about skill set or talent, because Vic, obviously, his skill set and talent and athleticism was crazy. Lamar Jackson is playing against Aaron Donalds. He's playing against Von Miller. He's playing against guys he's playing against D tackles that run 4.5s and 4.4s. It's a different animal now. Like when Vic was playing, man, we still had 350-pound D tackles that couldn't run or close a gap or close a lane fast enough if they had a free pass to it to stop Michael Vick from running. So when you like, and without getting too deep in football from X's and O's standpoint, the game is harder to play now. Do y'all see those athletes out there? Like,
it's insane.
The fact that
right.
Owe, the young kid from Baltimore now, like that's a freak athlete. And that's not to disregard any of the old, but that's why Lawrence Taylor is considered the greatest defensive player ever because it was never seen before. Von Miller talent in the 1970s, he would have had 40 sacks a season. DeMarcus Ware talent, he would have, So we all know the game and how it evolves and all of that. So I just, like, when it comes to Lamar, man, and to your point, like, if you are going to be cautious, if you are going to be one of these franchises, fan bases, organizations that say, nah, we need to be careful about paying this guy, then at what point do you want a real opportunity to win? Because when I see Lamar Jackson play, I see a real opportunity to win every game you play in because that dude is your quarterback.
Yeah,
that's what you're paying for.
That's it.
You ain't paying you ain't paying for the Super Bowl like this is going to happen right now, or because we paid this money, we're going to win the Super Bowl. No team would ever pay a player if they thought like that.
Yep.
You play for what you project. You play for what this guy has earned and what he's done on the field for your organization, and in his case, off the field, like all quarterbacks are judged. And it's the same argument I had with Dak Prescott. Okay, you don't want to pay Dak Prescott $40 million. Go find somebody better. All of those dudes that's better, they already paid.
Correct.
So
they're not available.
I just don't understand. Yeah, they're not available. So I don't the whole Lamar. Now, I don't, to your point, like, I don't understand what's the holdup from his side or what kind of, and there's a lot of parameters in contracts and things like that. But ultimately, if you don't pay Lamar Jackson, somebody else will.
Correct. Frankly, and I got to be honest with you, Marcus, I've said this a couple times. I don't know why, if the holdup is on the Ravens side, I don't know why he hasn't demanded a trade. Like, look around, man. Look at how desperate these teams are for quarterbacks in the NFL.
Hey, man, listen, man. I always, and not to throw no shade, but I always bring it back to this reference, all right? And you guys use this as much as y'all want to. Kirk Cousins has made $239 million.
$35 million to play quarterback this season. Kirk Cousins.
And he's won one playoff game. And he's been in the league 5 more years than Lamar Jackson.
Yep.
6 more years.
Yep.
So let's just kill the whole idea that this is a big bet. Yeah, it's a big bet. It's a big bet every time you pay somebody that kind of money. It was a big bet when Kansas City paid Patrick Mahomes that money, and Patrick Mahomes didn't score a point in the second half against the Cincinnati Bengals.
These are facts.
You think the Chiefs fans are mad that Patrick Mahomes their quarterback?
No.
No. They got a shot every time they play. And that's what Baltimore has, so they better get it done.
I keep saying that all the time, dude. Oh, you got a quarterback, you got a chance. That's the way it works in the NFL. You don't have a quarterback, you got no chance. That's the end of it.
That's it.
Marcus, I know I'm going to have to let you go because you're such a busy dude. Can I squeeze in 2 with you real quick?
Yeah, you got it.
One would be, look, the AFC is nuts right now. I mean, this is insane what you're looking at in the AFC. In the division, you now have Burrow and Deshaun Watson. The AFC West is murderer's effing row, bro. It's like looking out and seeing the Avengers and the 92 Olympic basketball team, and it's just insanity. What is the difference for you right now in the Ravens being able to separate themselves somehow? We know they're a good team. We know they got a lot going for them. But what's the difference in them being able to run this now gauntlet that will be the AFC?
They are already separated, and that is why Lamar Jackson is so important to what the Ravens are. I even floated when the Giants were talking about trading Saquon. I was like, Baltimore should look into that. Because you can play whatever style of offense you want to play with Lamar Jackson at quarterback. And you also look at the way they play. You have to prepare for the Ravens differently than any team in the NFL. You cannot have it's a specific game plan, not just to Lamar, but just the way they play offense. And you guys know, I've been talking, you got to evolve this passing game, because I honestly believe that with the evolution of this passing game, if Bateman continues to ascend and Marquise continues on this path of playing well, and we know what Mark Andrews is, how do you stop them? Like, I really...
If they're healthy, right.
If
you keep them healthy.
How do you stop them? And that's why I was so critical of Lamar turning the football over, because in those games, even with the injuries that they suffered, they still had an opportunity to win those games. But it was his turnovers that were critical and in critical moments.
Yep.
But ultimately, dude, like, Deshaun obviously makes Cleveland tremendously better. Burrow in Cincinnati and what they were able to do this year, they are revamping that offensive line. Pittsburgh got Mitchell Trubisky. I'm not jumping over the moon like everybody else. I'm waiting to see how that situation will go. But when it comes to the Ravens, y'all know, brand of football, the talent that you'll put. People forget about J.K. Dobbins.
He's good.
It's a hell of a football
yes,
player,
he
man.
is. Yeah.
Like, I have always contended that the Ravens during the regular season will continue to win games, and they will get into the playoffs because it is so difficult to stop and game plan for them because you really don't know who to deploy and how to deploy him. If you spy Lamar, he may throw for 350 and 4 touchdowns. You got counter schemes coming at you. You got jet sweep motions with Marquise. You got quarterback keepers with Lamar. It's just so much to defend. That's why they have success. And actually, that's why they could win games this year without having a full boat. But if they evolve that passing game, that is for the playoffs. That passing game is for the playoffs. The Ravens can get in the playoffs every year if they stay healthy with what they do. The evolution of the passing game is when they get to the dance. And now you have to be able to do that when it's called on. And if they get to that point, yeah, man. I mean, it's a gauntlet, but trust me, Cleveland radio, Cincinnati radio, Pittsburgh radio is going to say, how do you get – they're going to interview somebody that played for them teams, and they're going to interview me, and I'm going to be like, well, the Ravens are there. That's a gauntlet you got to get through. That's how they look at Baltimore.
I like that.
Too.
All right, and we'll keep this one short to wrap it up, dude. We were just talking to Patrick Ricard a second ago before you called in, and he was telling us that, he personally called John Harbaugh during free agency, just picked up the phone and said, look, man, can you help me? This is where I want to be. Can you help me? And John Harbaugh said, yeah, I will, 100%. And it struck me because I don't know. I haven't talked to a lot of guys about this specifically over the year. Maybe it's common. Maybe that happens everywhere. But it seems to me like it's...
No, that's uncommon. It's uncommon.
Okay. It seems to me like it speaks to the culture in Baltimore. And you were in a few different places. And, what was your experience like with the culture within this organization and just how different it might be than other spots around the NFL?
It is as good as any, and you guys know I talk to a lot of guys as well. It is as good as any culture in any franchise or organization. And I'm not just talking about winning, I'm talking about the people. Because that's what the building is constructed of. And then the history of the guys that left there, Ray and Sizzle and Ed, and they left things for guys to attach to and still continue to carry that on. And the generation changes, the players change, but the culture and the way things are fits. And Harbaugh, like, me and Harbaugh was cool, and I like him as a person. I respect how he looks out for his players. He actually made a mistake and called my number about getting ready for the offseason and what I needed to do to get better. And he was meaning to call Marcus Peters.
No, that's so funny.
And I said, Coach, if you're not giving me any advice on how to be better for TV, you got the wrong number. He started laughing and asked me how I was doing and all of that. But ultimately, I think it boils down to, with him, he cares about the players, man. He cares about these guys beyond what they can offer as football players. And that don't always mean it ends well. Some guys get cut, guys don't get contracts that they want. But ultimately, he gives that vibe, and I think guys respond to that, man. And coming from Dallas, where you got an owner that's involved in everything, and Jerry, and you always see him. I saw Bisciotti like twice, and I just thought it was just well run. Everybody knew exactly what they were doing. They knew exactly what their jobs were. And I think when you feel comfortable enough, like Patrick Ricard, to pick the phone up, is because your coach is giving you an indication that you can do that.
Yeah.
And that speaks volumes, man.
That's huge, man. Bro, we could do this for hours. I know you got stuff to do.
You know it.
at mspears96 on Twitter, at mspear96 on Instagram. Swagoo and Perk is the podcast. Again, NFL Live, weekdays at 4. Brother, I love our conversations, man. I know you're a busy dude, and I know that you would love to do it more often. At some point in the future,
Yes,
we're gonna do it again, man, because you are the best.
Absolutely.
I'm so happy for you and all the incredible success that you've had in your career, dude. It's awesome to see talented people shine. Good continued.
Yeah, man, appreciate it. And look, too, man, it was. I had a wonderful experience, man. My kids my oldest two were very young, but they loved it. We lived in Ellicott City when we was there, Owens Mills. The people were so good to me and to us, and that's a special place.
Awesome.
That was a time where I knew my career was winding down, and it was exactly what I needed it to be from an organization standpoint, from roundabout town, and being around the fellas. So it's always gonna be a special spot in my heart with the Ravens, man. And the fans still tap in with me. Like they still reach out. We still talk, and as brief as it was, it felt like it was worth it. So yeah, I'm forever grateful,
awesome,
man, for the Ravens and that community for sure, and you, GMP. Sure,
dude,
man.
Marcus, the best to you, to your family, my friend. Let's talk again down the road. Thank you for taking the time for us this morning.
All right, brothers, we'll do. Y'all be well.
Marcus Spears.
God, he's so good. Oh, my God, he's so good. What an hour we just had. Kevin Willard, Patrick Ricard, Marcus Spears.
And we still got Drew Forrester to go.
Yeah. And I admitted yesterday on Twitter a conversation with Marcus Williams that legitimately made me cry.
I'm excited.
That's still to come. Jesus, what a day. I apologize. We got reads I got to do. We're doing a show today. We got a hell of a show on tap. There's things I haven't been able to talk about. We'll get to them. I hope you guys are enjoying this as much as I am. Today's show is also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy Football. You need to be playing Underdog because you can't bet yet on your phone or on your computer here in the state of Maryland, but you can feel like you're betting, playing player props, playing parlays with Underdog Fantasy Football, baseball, basketball, hockey. Plus, you put in the code PRESSBOX when you deposit $100. We'll match it with up to $100 for you to play with for free. So you put in $50, you get $50 of free money at Underdog Fantasy Football. Again, UnderdogFantasy.com or download the Underdog app. Marcus Williams is next up on the hot seat. So new Ravens safety just signed a massive contract. Let's talk to him about that next. Glenn Clark Radio.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Answering Baltimore's calls for help, running in when others run away, working together toward one shared vision for a thriving city. That's your Baltimore Police. But the department needs more good people, people like you. Join a proud new generation of Baltimore Police and make an active difference in your community. Start with competitive wages and excellent benefits on day one. Join for good at bpdrecruit.org.
Sports betting has come to Maryland, and we're ready to help you win some money. Tune in for Simply the Bets with Glenn Clark and Paul Valley every Tuesday morning at 11:40. FanDuel Sportsbook GM Bruce Billick and VSiN's Aaron Oster join the guys every week to give you all of the info you need and even a few winners. So come win some money with us on Simply the Bets every Tuesday at 11:40 a.m. Brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Listen at PressBoxOnline.com/radio. Watch at YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline.
Glory Days Grill's St. Patrick's menu is now in full swing, and it's their most popular seasonal menu all year. New in 2022 are their smoky thigh wings with Guinness grilling sauce, a house-made Guinness barbecue sauce. Fan favorites also include their corned beef and cabbage, the shepherd's pie with Guinness braised ground beef, the Glory Days Reuben, and the Rachel. Enjoy a pint of Guinness or Guinness Baltimore Blonde. The St. Patrick's menu is available for the whole month of March. Come in for great food, cold beer, and basketball. Find out more about Glory Days Grill and get your order in online at glorydaysgrill.com.
Baseball is back. I'm Paul Valley.
And I'm Zach Goodman.
You can find us live every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon talking all things Orioles and Major League Baseball.
Like the debuts of Adley Rutschman and Grayson Rodriguez.
And how the rotation and bullpen are rounding into form. Watch us live at youtube.com/PressBoxOnline and Facebook.com/PressBoxSports.
Or you can listen at PressBoxOnline.com/radio.
That's the Bat Around, live with the latest in baseball coverage every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
We can't imagine why you'd want to, but you can watch GCR live. It's at facebook.com/PressBoxSports and try to guess whether these guys are wearing any pants.
All right, a couple things to cover. It's been a wild ride so far on GCR. Thanks to Marcus Spears. Thanks to Patrick Ricard. Thanks to Kevin Willard, all for joining us. Ian Rappaport and Tom Pelissero both reporting roughly the same thing. First, Rappaport. Another blockbuster coming despite an offer from the Chiefs that would make superstar Tyreek Hill one of the highest-paid receivers. Extension talks have stalled, and Kansas City has now given Hill's agent permission to seek a trade. Sources tell me and Tom Pelissero. I don't get that at all. If you're Tyreek Hill, I do think it should be a mitigating factor that the Chiefs were a team that was willing to take a chance on you when no one probably should have.
Not a chance in hell he cares about that.
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, there's absolutely no doubt about it. Now, that being said, I get it. This is the way getting everything you can on the market is the way it sort of works for the players and their agents. Get every ounce of what you can get. And given Tyreek Hill's skill set and given the fact that, these issues didn't impact Deshaun Watson at all on the market, I can certainly see why his representatives would say, nope, we don't give a rat's ass. We think we can do better. And so we're going to look to be traded to a team that can do us better. I have less than zero interest in that being the Baltimore Ravens. You all know how I feel about Tyreek Hill. I don't care. I don't care how good of a football player you are.
Same.
Don't care. Will never care. No is going to be my answer every time. I do not care. I want talented football players. The guys I'd be inclined to go after. No, zero, no chance would I be interested personally in Tyreek Hill. Y'all can say whatever you want. Oh, you just want a bunch of choir? Nope. I'm very specific about it. Violence against women, sexual assault. I want you. Period. That's my line. I mean, murder too, but I'd like to hope that we'd never be having that actual murder. I'd like to hope that wouldn't be a conversation. No. No, no, no. End of the story. So we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. I mean, the Chiefs are a vastly different team. Look, I get Patrick Mahomes is incredible. Travis Kelce is incredible, but they are a drastically different team if they don't have Tyreek Hill. I mean, we got to be honest about that. They're a very different team. Doesn't mean they won't be good. Doesn't mean they aren't a threat, but they're a very different team when they've had to play without Tyreek Hill over the years. So that is very noteworthy as we look at what's going on. So there's that. I saw Jock Peterson was kind of indirectly going after the Orioles this morning. On Twitter, Jock Peterson shared out this graphic, I guess. I mean, I don't know what you want to say this is, but it was something that was shared. Do you have it up in front of you by chance? I can't even. Sorry. Jock Peterson.
I'll find it.
It wasn't too far on his Twitter, so I should be able to get it right now. Yeah, I got it. This is Young Jock 650 on Twitter. Jock Peterson shares out this tweet, or part of a tweet, an image of a tweet from someone else that shows the Dodgers and the Mets and the Yankees of having the top payrolls, and then shows the Guardians, Pirates, and Orioles hundreds of $1 million off with bottom payrolls. And Jock Peterson says, embarrassed for your fan base. Be better. If you can't, sell your team to somebody that wants to show the fan base in baseball they're at least trying to compete. Sorry, unacceptable. And I have two conflating feelings about this because, one, Jock Peterson is a player, so I can't really hold it against him that he wants the teams in general to spend more money.
I'm pretty sure he was involved in the negotiations.
Yeah, all players want that.
Yeah.
Now, it's far more complicated than he's pretending it to be. It's far more complicated than that. he would say it's not my concern. My concern is one thing, spend money. Spend money, you got a better chance of winning, you make more money, that's the way it should work. And inherently, individually, that's not incorrect necessarily. But we all know there's more complications to it. We all know that inherently, Los Angeles and New York markets are going to have the opportunity to profit more than Cleveland and Pittsburgh and Baltimore. That doesn't mean the Orioles shouldn't spend money. It doesn't mean the Orioles can't be profitable. But we can't pretend like it's an even playing field either. Both things are true. I'll call out the Orioles for decisions they make. If they don't start spending money in the coming years, I will call them out for that. But to pretend like everything is even and every market can spend exactly the same way every other market does spits in the face of what we know to be factual about baseball. It is not equitable. Not like the NFL, where they share the revenue. Local revenue is supreme when it comes to baseball. Does it make it okay the Orioles are spending $30 million? Again, knowing what they're doing right now, I get it. But that's got to change. Must change. This is the end of the line for acceptance of them spending less money. That must change moving forward.
Oh, I think that this is absolutely, in my mind, and this is what I have to believe or I'll go crazy. This is the last year that they aren't going to spend money because you have all your top prospects, for the most part, are graduating this year. You see what you have, and then you go fill the holes next offseason.
Where you start to anyway.
Where
right,
you start to fill the holes. The Orioles at this moment, they're not 3 superstar players away from contending. And on top of that, they're not going to go sign somebody to block one of their top prospects. That's not how a rebuild works. They're going to see how these guys do on the field, and they'll supplement with talent moving forward.
They had better because there is always the flip side, which is you just perpetually end up being the team that doesn't. And that's the thing that some people within baseball, that's the Marlins concept, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, nope, we're just never going to spend money, deal with it. Maybe we'll get lucky.
But I look at what Mike Elias said he was going to do in his opening press conference, and he has checked every single box.
I'm with you.
Next one is winning.
It's got to happen.
It's
got to happen. Or I will. I promise you, I will start. John wanted us to yell about the broadcast thing. We've yelled plenty about the broadcast thing. They should put the games on TV. I am with 100%. you. You know that. I've just yelled about it so much that yelling about it again is sort of redundant for me. I'll start yelling about it. It wasn't now. I would have been in for Carlos Correa, but as I said, not given the opt-out. I mean, it just would have made no sense for the Orioles. But they got to start doing it in the next couple of years. All right. Hey, just a quick reminder that you should know the risks and have a plan before you start gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org. We had to do this yesterday because of his schedule, and it was a really special conversation. New Baltimore Ravens safety Marcus Williams with us here on GCR.
Well, as you know, our next guest was introduced as the newest member of the Baltimore Ravens just last week here in Owings Mills. He is one of the best free safeties in the entire NFL. It's a pleasure to welcome in for the first time to GCR, Mr. Marcus Williams, who's now with us. Marcus, it's Glenn here in Baltimore. It's great to chat with you, man. Thank you for taking the time, and congratulations again on becoming a Baltimore Raven.
Man, appreciate it. Happy to be on. Happy to talk with you guys this morning.
It's great to hear your voice, dude. I was really, I don't want to be redundant because I know you answered so many questions while you were here last week. I remember at one point you kind of were honest and you were like, man, I don't know that it's really hit me yet. And I was just wondering, having a weekend removed and starting to get a sense of how your life has changed, has it really hit you? Have you had a moment to kind of reflect on how significant this is for you, signing a big deal and becoming a Baltimore Raven?
Man, I think it's definitely hit me over the past couple of days, being able to digest it and, kind of fill it out. But I know it will hit me a little more once I'm actually there with the team,
Sure.
bonding with those guys, getting ready for the season. But it's definitely life-changing, just being able to, go from being a young kid to now being in the NFL, living out my dreams is definitely a dream come true all over again.
I was thinking a lot, what you just brought up, that life-changing. I know this might sound like a dumb guy question, but, does that look different from one day to the next? Does your life change at all when you sign a deal this big, or do you just go back and nah, it's just I'm going to get ready for work. It's just that work's going to be in a different place. Is there any way that life really changes from last Monday morning to this past Monday morning?
I don't think it changes in a big way for me. I've always been about my business and all that work, and just signing this, it's not going to change the way I approach things. I've always approached things with my 100%. So doing this is not going to change the way I work. I don't ever want to go into something thinking, I only got to do this to be at this point because I'd rather be prepared for an opportunity every single time, even if I don't have the opportunity. So I think I'm still in the same mindset. I'm still preparing the same way, and I just got right back to business. But it's definitely a great opportunity to go to another organization who's always in contention.
Can I ask it this way? I was talking to our buddy Mike Nolan, right, who was here in Baltimore for a long time, does some broadcast stuff, and I know was down there in New Orleans at one point with you, working with the linebackers down there, and I was asking him about you, and he was like, well, when I was there, Marcus wasn't like the most vocal guy because you were, a young guy, right? Like you weren't that place. Does any part of signing a deal like this, does it make you say like, hey man, I might need to to become more of a leader, like that this is the way that it works when you get a big free agent deal and when you're being paid a certain amount? Does any of that come along with it that I need to take on more leadership now as I move into this role with the Ravens?
Well, after he left, I probably became a little more vocal, but my actions always louder than my words. I'm a hard worker, and you can see that I'm a leader by the way I work, by the way I prepare. And I lead in different ways. I may not be the rah guy, but I am the guy who's like, hey, we need to do this. I'm not gonna yell at you, but I also know how to speak to someone because the way you speak to someone and the way they can take what you're saying to them is a big factor to being a leader. Not every leader needs to be the person who's always standing out, but there's also leaders who's behind the scenes, who's okay, this is what we got to do, who's directing people in the right way and speaking to them the way they want to be spoke to. I'm that type of leader. I may not always yell, but I do speak my mind, and when it's time, when we're in the game or if we're in the film room, I'm going to speak up. So I do speak up. I am a leader, and I've always been a leader since I was young. And it's just going to continue to carry over. I'm not going to come in here and try to force my way or anything.
Right.
I'm going to come in here and just be the same person I've been.
It's so funny you talk. And we compare a lot to, of course, Ray Lewis and Ed Reed because they were icons here in Baltimore, and everybody thinks of Ray as being that. When you say rah, you're literally describing Ray Lewis, right? But you'll talk to guys and they'll be like, hey, Ed Reed was way more like impactful to me because when he did talk, I knew it was important. I knew I needed to listen because he felt like he needed to say something at that point. Are you more that type that like you're not going to say a lot, but when you do, maybe people should be listening because it's really important?
Yeah, I just lead the way I know how to lead.
Sure.
I may not lead how everybody else thinks I should lead, but I lead in the way that I think is best suit for the situation. But something in that way. But I do speak my mind. I speak up when the time presents itself. I'm not very shy, but I don't always need to be the person standing up in front of the team meeting room giving a speech.
Oh, I respect that, man. I respect that a lot. Marcus Williams is with us here on Glenn Clark Radio. Marcus, I was really moved by how much you were talking about Eric Weddle last week. And I want to know more about how that relationship, like we both know, we know you're both Utah guys, but you're not the same age, right? There was clearly no crossover there. How did that relationship come about that you ended up, sort of seeing him as a guy that you would text with and you would get, information from? How did all that happen?
Well, I met him actually one time when I was at Utah, and I'm like, wow, that's Eric Weddle. I mean, I never really watched pro sports, but I'm like, okay, this guy's in the NFL. I never really met any NFL guys until I got to college. So seeing that and then going back and looking at him and seeing what he does on TV, I'm like, wow, that's somebody who I want to be like. And then I actually got into contact with him. I can't remember how, but we got numbers. I talked to him, and it's like this guy is a professional in the way he works. He's he's a family man, and he also went to Utah. So it's like, okay, this is how I want to be. I want to be somebody who's able to be a leader. And he may not get all the, recognition that he deserves, but you could see that he was one of the top safeties in the NFL for a long time. So
that was really cool, man. And you reached out to him, and he was receptive, and you kind of built a relationship from there.
Yes, of course, yeah. So I'll probably try to link with him in the off season, pick his brain a little bit more. But yeah, he's a great guy. He's always responding whenever I text him, so he's just somebody that I've looked up to since being in the league.
That's awesome, man. I'm fascinated by you saying you didn't really watch pro sports, like you didn't have like a basketball. You weren't like a Lakers fan or anything like that. You just weren't into pro sports.
I just grew up playing sports. I grew up just playing everything and anything. I just never really watched it. I was just an outside kid playing outside in the front yard, around the neighborhood. I really never just watched sports to watch it. I've never been like I need to watch sports. I'd rather just go out there and play it.
I dig it, man. But most of the guys like me, we weren't good enough, so we had to watch sports and have that thing. But that's cool, man. That's cool that you were that's the way it was. Do you find yourself watching anything else now? Like, if there's a football game on a Monday night and you're not playing, do you have any interest in watching other games?
Now that I've actually been in it, sometimes I catch myself like turning it on in the background, but when I'm watching it, sometimes I'm watching it as if I'm watching film.
Yeah.
So then it's like, okay, I'm watching film on this game. Oh, we play them, but it's like, oh, that's cool. But yeah, I'll watch it here and there, especially if I'm going to play the team in the next coming weeks or something.
Let me tell you, I want to know about your path to football, Marcus, growing up. Was football always the sport for you, or did you play basketball? Did you play other sports? How did it end up being that you became a football player?
Yeah, of course. I played basketball growing up. That was my first sport. And then when I was about 8 years old, I got into tackle football. So I've been playing tackle football since I was about 8 years old. And I used to play running back, stuff like that when you were a kid. In high school, I played receiver, really. And then I guess one game, one of my friends got hurt in the game, and I actually got thrown in the game. I had 3 interceptions that year. That game, sorry.
Okay.
I had 3 interceptions that game that he got hurt. And then I got offered to play safety. So that's kind of how I began to play safety, really, because I've always been really an offensive player. But
yeah, if you can go get the football like that, obviously people are going to be interested in you at that point. Was that when you knew? Like, I always like to ask, when did you know you were going to be able to do it, like, for the rest of your life or as a vocation? Was that the moment where it like hit you, like, I might have a skill that other people don't have. This might be something I can keep doing at a really high level.
I've always had confidence in myself, and I've always felt like I could do anything. I just, once I got to college and I developed my skills for safety, because I really didn't play much safety in high school. I played like a couple games, maybe 3 games at safety. So once I got to college, my coach, Morgan Scally, pretty much helped develop me into somebody who watches film, who's, getting the ball. He pretty much taught me how to be a safety, because I really didn't play it. So once he started teaching me, I started getting the love for it more. And then I was like, I could do this. I always said I could do anything. And, there's always going to be doubters and people say you can't. So that just pushed me a little more. And, now we're here now.
It's worked out okay for you. It's worked out all right for Marcus Williams, who's with us here on Glenn Clark Radio. Marcus, I was really moved when you were talking about your family at the press conference, and you got a little emotional there. And I did not know some of your story. I found out about how you got plugged in with the V Foundation and a lot of the loss that you've experienced in your life. For people in Baltimore that maybe don't know that side of the story, could you tell us a little bit about a lot of the loss that you've experienced and why maybe it's made your relationship with your family perhaps even stronger, and maybe what we saw as you were talking about them during your press conference?
Yeah, so I've lost quite a few of my family members to cancer. whether it's breast cancer or lung cancer. And it just shows me how that you need to cherish the family you have, the friends you have, that much more. I never take a day for granted because that time is short. We never know what could happen today, tomorrow, in a couple of hours. So I just relish it. I cherish my family. I cherish my friends, and it's just a blessing that I was able to have them there with me. I have more people in my life that are just as close to family as my own immediate family is. And, I always make sure that they know that they're appreciated, whether it's a text or a call or it's just coming over to the house and having family time. But, yeah, just being able to express, my emotions, even with the My Claws, My Cleat.
Yeah.
Putting my grandfather on it. He passed away from lung cancer a couple of years ago, and he's been there with me, and he basically taught me a whole lot about, never giving up. And, even when times are hard, even when you're at your worst, you still can fight through and be happy and just continue to be yourself. His last words to me basically were, go out there and give it your all and never give up. He told me, go be the best safety in the NFL. And that was pretty much the last words I heard from him. He said, I love you. And then after that, it was, he passed away a week later. But I still think about him all the time. I think about all my relatives who have passed away from it. But yeah, it's crazy how fast things can change in your life.
Bro, I'm admitting to you that I'm a softie now because I got two kids. I got a 7-year-old, I got a 4-year-old, and I'm soft as hell ever since they came along. But bro, you just moved me right there. Like it is dusty in this room right now. You talking about what your grandfather told you before he passed away, and how that's driving you. That's incredibly and so fitting that you got hooked up with the V Foundation, right? Don't give up. Don't ever give up, right? Like
right.
A really fitting sort of comparison. Is that a partnership that you're looking to continue with them?
Oh, of course. I mean, I love the partnership. We'll see what we have in store for the future. Definitely.
All right, I want to know about. So you talked about them, and it was really really interesting listening to you talk about what happened in Minneapolis, because at first it sounded like you just sort of were treating it like it's a football play, man. Things happen. And then I heard you talking about how your family was there for you in the aftermath of that. Can you tell me about a little bit more about that? Which was it easy for you just to say, hey, look, football plays happen sometimes? It was interesting listening to you talk about going for turnovers. Sometimes there's going to be friendly fire, right, when you're going for the football. Was it easier for you to compartmentalize that, all the attention that it got, and just say, look, man, these things are going to happen because I'm trying to make a play. I'm trying to be a playmaker.
It to me, it's kind of crazy that whenever anybody ever talks about me, they have to bring up the Minneapolis, play. Like, out of all the years I've been one of the top safeties in the NFL, but the only thing that people recognize me is for that. At the end of the day, if you look at all the other film, you're like, this dude is a player.
Right.
And I know what type of player I am. So, I mean, you can watch any other guys. You think any other guys in the NFL are not going to make a mistake or not going to mess up or miss a play, but that's just not the reality. The reality is, at any moment, it's just the inch. Like, anything can happen in any game. And, I mean, at the end of the day, that play happened. It's over. And, I got up, shook it off, and we're here 6 years later, and I'm still one of the top safeties in the NFL.
Yep.
I mean, PFF is going to grade me high. I just do every day in and day out. I work. I just got off the field working out. And it's like, okay, when you guys finally realize, let's play a different play out there. Let's play Marcus getting an interception on NFL Network. Let's play Marcus getting an interception on, because that's who I am. You see me getting interceptions. You see me making big plays. So that's what you are. That's what you do. That play is not going to define me. That play will never define me.
Yep.
People can bring it up, and it is what it is. But at the end of the day, look where I'm at now. I'm still doing it. I'm still striving. I didn't quit. I didn't let it beat me down, and I'm still going out there and balling every week.
Man, that's clear. There's a reason why we're excited to have you here in Baltimore. Just another minute or two here with Marcus Williams. Marcus, I wanted to ask you about Marked as Winners and your brand and what that means to you and how it came about. What does that term mean, Marked as Winners?
It's basically what I just spoke about right now. Marked as winners, we are all marked as winners in our own given way. To me, it could be in your work, whatever you do. You could be a teacher, you could be a lawyer, you could be a doctor, you could be a coach. But whatever it is, you are marked as winners when you realize, I will not let anything stand in my way. I will not let anybody tell me I can't do something. I'm going to persevere. I'm going to be relentless in my pursuit of greatness. So we are all winners in our own way. Your success is not someone else's success. You have to be successful in your own way and what you define as success. So for me, being marked as a winner is never giving up, never backing down, and staring adversity in the face and saying, I will overcome this adversity. I will be the best version of myself that I can be.
I mean, that's powerful. It's a powerful message. It's something that the brand's gonna. Is there a chance we can get like some purple gear now for the brand moving forward? Can we maybe work on that in the coming months?
Yeah, we're gonna work on some new designs so we can have that purple in there for sure.
I like that. I like the sounds of that. And then I want to know about you as a gamer. How did that come about? I know you got a Twitch stream. Has gaming always been something that you've been into? Where did that come from?
Man, I've been gaming since I was younger. Whether it was Dreamcast, PlayStation 1.
Okay, what was when you were playing Dreamcast? What was the go-to game for you as a child playing Sega Dreamcast?
Man, Dreamcast, we were playing that. It might have been NBA Live. We were playing NBA Live on that. Heavy.
You weren't even a pro sports fan. Who were you playing as when you were playing NBA Live?
I was playing with the Lakers.
All right, you're Southern California. I get it. I'm
a California boy, so I was playing with the Lakers. I never watched sports like that, but I played games, so that's probably how I knew who the people were, though. I wasn't like blind to good players. I just never watched it religiously.
I feel you, man. I feel you. And you, when did you become a streamer? And how much fun is that for you? Having people involved and getting to see that side of your life.
Man, it's actually fun. I barely started a year ago streaming, and it's exciting. Just letting people watch me. I may not get so many streams, but people need to start watching my stream. So I'll be on there heavy playing Call of Duty. But it's fun. I'm yelling, I'm screaming, I'm having a good time. I put my dog in the camera sometimes. But it's definitely fun. I love streaming, and it's something that I enjoy doing. I probably play every single day. But
that's awesome, man. That's awesome.
That's the beauty of it.
The Twitch stream, it's at Baby Magic, MAGIK 32, correct? That's where people can follow you on Twitch?
Yes, sir.
Awesome,
yes,
man.
Sir.
Let's get all the other plugs in, too, while we're at it. On Twitter, at Marcus Williams. On Instagram, at Marcus Williams. And then markedaswinners.com in order to get the gear, correct?
Yes, sir.
Go check all that out. Give me one thing that you're dying to do now that you're in Baltimore, that when you get back up here, you want to go experience now that you're going to be in Baltimore for the foreseeable future.
They told me to go check out the crab cake, so I guess that's my first thing I got to stop and do.
Yeah, man. Look, dude, you've been in a hell of an eating town in New Orleans, right? I don't know how you've been able to stay in shape, because whenever I go to New Orleans, I come back a week later and I weigh about 40 pounds more. I have no idea how you guys do it. It's an unbelievable town, but you're not going to be let down when you get to experience the seafood up this way. I promise you that. Marcus, I really appreciate you taking the time for us, man, this morning. This has been a lot of fun getting to know you, and you have really moved me with the story about your family and your grandfather and how it's pushed you, dude. We can't wait to see you out here on the field. Thank you for taking the time. Look forward to having you back here and getting to know you a little bit more, all right?
Yeah, no doubt. Thank you for having me on.
It's Marcus Williams, bro. I when he started talking about his grandfather's dying words to him, go be the best safety in the NFL, that's some powerful stuff right there, man. That's some really powerful stuff. Appreciate Marcus Williams taking the time for us this morning as we continue to move along here. By the way, apparently the Tyreek Hill thing is moving along too. Adam Schefter already says it's looking like Tyreek Hill is going to be a Dolphin or a Jet. What the hell is going on?
Why would you want to go play for the Dolphins or the Jets if the Chiefs just offered you generational wealth?
I mean, it really does come down to getting every penny that you possibly can. And this is the thing that we have always convinced ourselves that other things, being with a quarterback matters, being in a place where you're happy, whatever it is. It really is coming down to we want to get every penny that we possibly can get. I ain't going to knock somebody for that, but go have fun. you end up with the Jets, go enjoy that experience. Ask Le'Veon Bell how that worked out.
Yeah.
That ain't going to affect me because, I got no love lost for Tyreek Hill.
If Tyreek Hill wants to go take a year off, by all means.
Take 5.
Yeah.
Take 5.
The rest of your life.
I'd be 100% on board with that. All right. Reminder, if you missed Simply the Bets yesterday, we do it every Tuesday at 11:40 a.m. You can find it at PressBoxOnline.com/video or YouTube or Facebook on the PressBox pages. Tomorrow, Weekend at Bookies is back. Andrew Stecca, Brad Feinberg from Bet Prep will be with us. Try to help us make some money this weekend. It's all brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Drew Forrester is next. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
Sports fans, the wait is over. The all-new FanDuel Sportsbook is now open at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover, Maryland. This is your chance to win big right in your own backyard. Bet on every sport with self-service kiosks and watch all of the action from the best seat in the house. Make every moment more at the all-new FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit mdgamblinghelp.org.
The newest edition of PressBox is available now. On the cover, we celebrate the 20th anniversary of Maryland men's basketball's 2002 NCAA Tournament Championship, as Gary Williams reflects on how the program rose from the ashes of NCAA sanctions to the pinnacle of the sport, and why his perspective of the title run has changed now 2 decades later. Plus, Juan Dixon, Lonnie Baxter, and the rest of the team relive the moments that ultimately led them to cutting down the nets in Atlanta. PressBox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farms stores. And you can always find the entire edition, as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
Answering Baltimore's calls for help, running in when others run away, working together toward one shared vision for a thriving city. That's your Baltimore Police. But the department needs more good people. People like you. Join a proud new generation of Baltimore Police and make an active difference in your community. Start with competitive wages and excellent benefits on day one. Join for good at bpdrecruit.org.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
The biggest pro wrestling stars today and all time all have one thing in common. You've heard them on Jobbing Out.
Matt and Nick Jackson, the Young Bucks.
Thanks for having us, man. Appreciate it.
The great Kurt Angle.
Thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
Matt Riddle.
Yeah, man. Thanks, man.
The champ, Drew McIntyre.
Oh, thank you for having me.
The great Ron Simmons.
Damn.
Keith Lee.
Appreciate you guys having me, man.
Bill Goldberg.
My pleasure.
Charlotte.
Thank you so much for having me.
Mick Foley is with us.
This is the greatest name for a wrestling show I've ever heard.
MJF.
I'm glad you're happy I'm on this show because I'm freaking miserable.
Le
champion.
Chris Jericho.
Le champion.
AJ, Aaron, Brandon, and Glenn are talking pro wrestling every week on Jobbing Out. Find it at PressBoxOnline.com/radio, iTunes, and SoundCloud.
Stay tuned. Your chance to win $1 million is coming up. Probably not from us. You're listening to Glenn Clark Radio.
All right, back in here on GCR. Apparently we're on top of everything else having some technology problems, but that's nothing new. We've been through that a time or two over the years, and here we are. We still managed to push through, and what a show it's been. Thanks to Marcus Williams. Thanks to everybody who's joined us so far. Boy, it would be just a real shame if we missed out on Forrester. What a bummer that would be, man. You'd hate to see that happen. Hey, if you missed on Monday night, Stan the Fan Charles and Ross Grimsley had a great show with Dave Tremblay, the former Orioles skipper, who's now a part of the MLB Draft League. If you missed that, find it Facebook.com/PressBoxSports, PressBoxOnline.com/video. Go find it in those places. I have put up Would You Rather Wednesday scenarios brought to you by Glory Days Grill. Not surprisingly, they've been lost in the shuffle of everything else that's been going on this morning. We'll try to get to them with Forrester here in a second, but there's been a lot going on. We've had a lot to do. It's just, it's what it is. Did you really just apologize to him? You did. What did you didn't really just apologize to him.
He sounded dejected, man.
Dejected?
He was like, "Hey, I'm good.
Yeah,
I don't have a lot of time."
Bring him up. What's wrong with you? What's going on?
I have stuff going on. You guys are late.
What do you have going on? All right.
I have things going on, and you guys are late, and you guys had Wilhelm on, and I get it.
There you go. There you go. I had that on my bingo card for what it's worth.
So let's talk sports. Hurry up. I got to go to acupuncture.
What time's your acupuncture? What are you doing?
Noon. 12 noon.
You got a noon acupuncture. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's what I have for you. I want to see if I get you.
That'll be good.
I want to see if I
assume it's got to do with the Masters.
No, I don't care about that. Well, I mean, I will talk. Actually, honest to God, but we're saving it because you got acupuncture. I don't know if you heard. I want to know. I want to see if I can get you worked up and get Paul worked up. Do you care about the Orioles ending up in arbitration with Trey Mancini and John Means?
I don't care about anything the Orioles do, but this is stupid.
Okay, there we go. All right, now explain why you think
to do this, because they only have 5 good players, and to do this to these 2 guys is a joke.
Okay,
it really is. It is all optics, in the same way that not sending the announcers on the road is just all optics. But it's what they do. They specialize in this clown shoes, amateur hour garbage. Just give these 2 guys the money, and you've already seen over the last 2 years, because they're the only good players you've had, that they will be more than accommodating when it comes to return on the investment. It's a joke.
Paul Valley, how would you like to respond?
Oh, I don't even care.
No.
Of course
Drew
doesn't care. It's a joke.
No. I'm letting Paul respond. Okay.
It's a joke.
You settle down.
One, I'm under the impression that both sides file separately. I don't believe that Trey Mancini said, "Hey, I like $8 million." We're like, "Okay, well, we'll give you 7.3." I don't think that's what happened. I think both sides filed separately, and then they'll what they always do, they'll meet in the middle. It's not like the Orioles are operating through the arbitration process any differently than any other major league team. You look at the St. Louis Cardinals.
The Orioles are different than every other team in baseball. They're a joke.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Hey, look. You're not going to get an argument from me that the Orioles need to put more money into this roster.
I know you do a baseball show, and you've got to be in good stead over there. This is amateur hour stuff.
I'm not a company man, as I was called last night. This is
amateur hour. It's $600,000. It's a parking fee at Fells Point to you and I.
Okay, but what about the last 4 years has given you any heightened expectations that the Orioles would do anything other than what they just did?
Nothing.
Exactly.
They just kept the
so that's on
broadcasters
you.
home because they don't want to give them $34 more a day per diem.
So if you're upset about this, that's your fault.
I'm not upset at all.
If
I
anybody
think it's
is,
laughable.
that's on you for being upset.
No. It isn't on you. It's not on the fans. It's not on the fans to diminish their expectations for a team that gets $15 a month from you and I to watch the games. It's not on us to lower our expectations. They should operate like a major league team and not like the Marlins.
That they will,
and that might be a disrespect to the Marlins, frankly.
I just look. There are plenty
laughable.
of things. They haven't signed legitimate starting pitching. They don't have a shortstop on their roster right now that should be starting every day.
But that's okay, because the season's only 8 days away.
We can get upset about that. An arbitration process. I'll give you an example. The St. Louis Cardinals, Tyler O'Neill.
I don't care about the Cardinals. The Cardinals have won more games in April than we've won in 10 years.
But still, Tyler O'Neill had a better year than the MVP last year, and they shorted him $750,000 for this year.
Can we please talk about the Masters? Just please. Why did you do this to me, Clark?
Because I thought it was going to go this way, and I wanted to have fun.
Oh, my God.
This is good
Anybody
content.
that defends these goofs.
I'm not defending them. I'm just not getting upset about it. There are so many other things to get upset about. This is not one of them. This happens with every team in baseball for the history of eternity. And getting upset about something like this is stupid. And you're just upsetting yourself for no reason. There's no reason to get
I'm not upsetting myself
yourself
for no reason. It's the baseball team. Where is this place? I missed the turn
about your
acupuncture.
acupuncture. All right, let me step in for a second.
Oh,
right?
here it is.
Let me step in for a second. I have 2 thoughts about this, right?
Oh, I might have missed the turn.
Settle down over there. Nobody cares. I have 2 thoughts about this. The first being,
here it is.
a relevant point that Drew could make would be to say, fine, this is your number. Now you know what it is. He's Trey Mancini. Just meet him at his number.
I don't disagree with that.
Do the right
Just
thing.
give him the
I don't disagree with that.
$600,000.
Meet him at his number.
Right.
Stop trying to fight about these petty, nonsensical things and pissing off people in your fan base, and just say, that's your number, fine. It's literally $600,000 different. You're Trey Mancini. You've been the one respectable thing about this organization for some time. We're just going to give you the money. Now, somebody that is in a front office capacity somewhere could tell me you just can't give guys free money for the sake of giving guys free money.
No.
You know,
God forbid.
We can do this forever, but I don't think there's someone would be wrong to say specifically Trey Mancini. And we do have to acknowledge we get more emotional when we talk about Trey Mancini than we do with any other player because of what he's been through. But there would be nothing wrong with the Orioles saying, look, just give the money. You want to fight with John Means, go fight with John Means, right? Just give the damn money to Trey Mancini so you don't have to go through this, so you don't have to deal with this nonsense publicly.
For the record, I think they should give him the money. I'm not defending them not giving him the money. I'm just not – it doesn't move the needle for me. It just doesn't move the needle.
All right. Now, by the way –
might as well just wear the bird costume.
Settle down.
Yeah, go have a hot dog in a hot tub, man. I'm done with you.
Hot dogs in the hot tub.
I'm done with you.
Wear the costume.
He's worked up because he's got to go to a Limp Bizkit concert, and you would be worked up too. Okay,
That's true.
If you had to go to a Limp Bizkit show, you'd be mad too. All right.
But I'm still pretty sure he was going the whole time.
He was going anyway.
You got to keep rolling, man. I'm telling you.
I will add in one more thing. I have not talked enough about them not sending the broadcasters on the road, and it's a joke. It's
laughable.
There is no defense of it. There is nothing. You can't. No one can come up. I can come up with hey, this isn't how you run your front. If you run a team, if you run any company ever, you do have to be tight on your money, and you can't just give people money for the sake of it. I can do that. I don't agree with it, but I can do it. There is no justification at all of not sending the broadcasters on the road. It cannot be justified whatsoever in any way. To use Drew's word, it is laughable. 100%. It's laughable that that's the route they're going to go to start this season.
It's a bigger deal to me than the arbitration thing.
That's interesting. That's interesting, too. All right, so tell me why it is that Phil Mickelson – I don't really understand this. Can Phil Mickelson not play in the Masters because of Phil Mickelson, or is it because the Masters won't let him?
Well, I don't think anyone's really figured that out yet. I mean, you got there are three issues, right? Has he been suspended by the tour?
Right.
That's the first question. Number two, even if he were suspended by the tour, the folks at Augusta could say he's playing an hour event.
Right.
Because their event is their event. So they could say that. They could say he's playing an hour event, and that's just the way it is. And the tour would say, okay, and I don't know that they particularly care for it, but they would just say okay. And then the third thing is it Phil just saying, I'm really not ready to go back into this arena and get all these questions and get this scrutiny and go in there to try to win this tournament, and I'm going to be the entire, not the entire, but I'm going to be a significant part of the storyline, and I'm just not really ready for it. My guess, because there isn't really a rumor that he's been suspended. There's just conjecture, and a little bit of it is kind of based on the way Jay Monahan talked to Mike Tirico when Tirico said, would Phil be welcomed here at the Players' Championship? Monahan's body language and the look on his face and just the way he responded, well, Phil stepped away, so that's a moot point. Like, he made it looked like, and again, it's an optics thing, it looked like he was uncomfortable when he answered that. In the same way that when Tiger was asked by Tom Rinaldi, what happened that night when you were pulling out of your driveway, Tiger said, it's on the police report.
Right.
Tiger's face didn't look good when he said that. Like, it was pretty clear Tiger didn't want to answer the question, and he had not yet perfected, or maybe he had not perfected his ability to shield away from that question. So Monahan's response was a little suspect, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
But
there might be. He didn't say no. He'd be welcome here if he just avoided it.
He didn't say that.
Right.
And he said, well, it's a moot. Phil stepped away. It's a moot point. It's not what you were asked. and sort of kind of shame on Tirico, who, is one of the best broadcasters ever. It's a shame on him for not being more direct and saying, Jay, can you answer this for us? Was Phil suspended or not?
Right.
He didn't ask that. Now, you and I also know what it's like when they come by with a sheet of paper and hand it to you, and they go, by the way, Jim Nance is coming over in 10 minutes. You cannot ask him about his contract. If you ask him about his contract, he's going to get up and leave.
There was something weird that we weren't allowed to ask Julia Garner. Or no, not Julia Garner. That's Ruth.
They said don't ask her for her number. And I said,
Jennifer Garner. They brought Jennifer Garner, who's this huge movie star, over to sit with us. And they were like, you're not allowed. I swear to God, they said an actor's name. They're like, you're not allowed to ask her about so-and-so.
Ben Affleck?
I don't think it was Ben Affleck. I think we asked her about Ben Affleck.
I don't remember that. I remember that they said. I don't remember who it was. But, when Nance would do stuff with us, his assistant Melissa would often say, you can't ask Jim about the Masters. He's going to talk about the NFL. And then Jim would ultimately say, hey, Drew, I can't believe you're not going to ask me about golf. And we talk about golf anyway.
Right.
But when they tell you that, so for all I know, they might have said to Tirico, you cannot ask Jay if Phil's been suspended. I don't know. But the way he asked it was a little lame. So that led to
But there's a billion golf reporters out there. There are so many more golf reporters than they could possibly need for this sport. And again, I don't feel that way uniquely about golf. I feel it about every sport. Let me make that abundantly clear.
Right. I feel like had Phil been suspended, literally had Phil received something from Jay Monahan that said, Phil, you're suspended for 6 months or 4 months or whatever, I feel like Phil, and I don't know Phil from Adam other than knowing him for the 30 years he's played and watched him and observed him, and I feel like Phil would have leaked that.
Right, would have said, in order to, as a pissy thing, to try to create a little bit of a thing before the Masters, right?
Monahan suspended me.
Yeah, something along those lines.
I feel like something else is going on. I wouldn't be totally shocked. It wouldn't shock me at all if in another week and a half, like the Tuesday of the Masters, it's not announced that Phil has signed with that league.
He's still going to do it. He's still going to go do it.
That wouldn't shock me. I didn't say I'm predicting it, but it wouldn't shock me if on that Tuesday, Greg Norman and Phil Mickelson are at a press conference somewhere in Aiken, South Carolina, and Phil announces he's joined that league.
Still go do it. That would be amazing. That would be really amazing if after all of this he would still.
It's $100 million or $150 million,
and he's in his 50s, right? What's he doing?
He's 50. He'll be 52, and there are. Speaking of rumors, there are a lot of rumors around about Phil and some significant gambling issues / debts. And I don't know what amount they are, but those rumors have been floating around for a while. Not within the last 6 months. I'm talking about the last 2 or 3 years.
That doesn't sound surprising. I mean, that doesn't shock me in any way. I got
you. So I don't know, but if they wave $100 million in Phil's face, Phil's going to have a hard time saying no to that.
All right,
quick. They waved that in front of Tiger, and Tiger went, "Yeah, I think I'm good."
Right, I'm good. I got plenty of money. We're okay over here. All right, quickly. Would You Rather Wednesday is brought to you by Glory Days Grill. Drew goes every other day. The St. Patrick's menu is available until the end of the month with the smoky thigh wings, the Guinness grilling sauce, the Reuben, the Rachel, the shepherd's pie with the Guinness braised beef. It's all available, glorydaysgrill.com. I know you got to go to acupuncture, so I'll only give you one of them today. We did a betting theme, and I know you're not one that would bet, but I bet you'll participate with this. Would you rather, you got to bet everything you have.
Yes.
Right, I understand. Would you rather bet everything you have on Kevin Willard reaching a Final Four in the next 10 years at the University of Maryland, or on any single arbitrary spring training baseball game that could be played today?
I bet, boy, that's a great question.
Isn't it? I say this because I won money betting on a spring training baseball game.
Yeah.
My buddy Aaron Oster from Wiesen sort of dared me to bet on a spring training baseball game yesterday, and I won. And it was a high, bro. What a rush.
I think I would. God, that's a great question. I think I might. I don't know. I'll take the Braves -1.5. I already bet it earlier today.
That's my guy. That's my guy.
All right.
DrewsMorningDish.com. It's a hooded 4-iron. See you, pal.
Next time, call me on time.
All right, we'll get there. Drew Forrester.
Bye-bye.
Checking in with us on Would You Rather Wednesday. What a rush that was.
Oh my God! I don't even bet. I just bet $20.
Little Legion of Doom there.
Oh yeah, very much so. What up? I can't even do the voice now. I can't even do my Laurinaitis any longer. I was living and dying, dude. You were tweeting about the game like a nerd. Like you were super into it.
I was watching it.
You what a nerd you were, tweeting about this spring training game. Like who could possibly care? Except for me.
People want to know that Kyle Stowers hit a home run.
And so did Yusniel Diaz.
No, he didn't go deep.
I thought he did.
No, he had
Somebody else did.
He had a
Who else
single
did?
walk. It
Somebody
was
else.
Rylan Bannon.
That's who it was. Rylan Bannon that went deep. I swear to God, I was so invested. Not to the point where I would watch the game. Like, Lord knows that wouldn't happen. But my God, I'm reading tweet. I'm updating the
I was doing it for you.
Score bug. Is that what it was?
It was for you. I knew you were betting like a degenerate. I knew you were out
God,
there.
I was so.
betting on spring training baseball.
They were jumping out ahead, and they were giving it back, and they were jumping out ahead, and they were giving it back, and I'm like, oh God. But then they were comfortably ahead, and then it was tied again, 9-9 in the ninth inning. I'm like, no, because I just knew it was going to end up being a push. I'm like, that's the way this goes. It's going to be a push, and at least I won't lose my money, but there's nothing fun about that. You don't feel anything good about getting a push.
How were you feeling in the bottom of the ninth when it was 10-8 and Connor Gillespie gives up a run without getting it out?
I was not feeling great, Paul. I wasn't feeling great in that moment.
And
I was so prepared to send so many texts to Aaron Oster about it. Like, I was so ready to treat this like the greatest moment of my life because I was living it. It was a rush betting on a effing spring training. I take back everything I've said. I've taken back everything. God, that is living, man. I've jumped out of a plane and felt less than what I felt betting $20 on a spring. None of these people care.
Meanwhile,
nobody's trying.
Meanwhile, I'm laying on the couch with my cat, tweeting out stuff about the game, and I fell asleep in the fourth inning.
Yeah, that again. There's something. I had something at stake. You're a nerd. That's what occurred yesterday.
I love baseball.
I don't care. There's a difference between loving baseball and tweeting about a spring training baseball game. Those are two different things.
It's the Orioles, man. What else do we got?
It makes it worse, Paul. That didn't improve anything.
Hope springs
eternal. It
eternal,
makes it so
Glenn.
much worse that you're tweeting about an Orioles spring training. If you were tweeting about a good team spring training game, I'd be like, well, okay, you're getting.
And I'll probably do it again tonight.
Oh, you need help, man. You need so much help.
People want to know that. If people can't watch the game, they want to know.
Let me see if I can mold this for you somehow. Know the risks and have a plan before you start being this invested in Orioles spring training games. For free and confidential advice. All right, never mind. Know the risks and have a plan before you start gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org. I don't have a problem. I was a winner. That's not a problem. I won. Oh, God, it was a ride. Oh, I was.
Speaking of debts, did you catch the latest installment of Winning Time?
I did. Yeah, quite.
The episodes just keep getting better.
I swear to God, I read Perlman's book, and I don't remember anything about that. I maybe I got to figure out how old I was when I read the Perlman book. We know. Let's put Perlman on next week. He's a buddy of mine. I helped him out with his next book. I'll give you his number. I like to have him on.
Okay.
This is the Jerry Tarkanian episode of Winning Time. If you haven't watched it yet, whoo, buddy. Wow, there was a lot happening there. There was a lot going on in this. The Winning Time is excellent. It's a
very good,
excellent television program. Outstanding. All right, quickly today I did a betting theme, and it's just I get it. There's been too much going on this morning. Brian Powell tells me that one of the hosts in New York scored a Met spring training game that he watched on DVR. Well, all of these people need help. That might, you know what? If what you're trying to say, Brian, is it can get worse than Paul, sure, I will give you that. That's worse. Although the Mets have Max Scherzer. The Mets might be good. Take it back.
They got a lot of good players.
Take it back. You're worse. Take it back immediately.
I need this, man, because we're all going to be checked out in June.
We're in June. Who's making it to June?
I can make it to June.
Well, I mean,
we made it to May 5th last year.
You might have. We'll be there for. I actually probably.
That was the no-hitter on May 5th.
I know. And we'll be checked in for Adley Rutschman, obviously. Like we will be checked in for that. Oh, my God. Would you rather Wednesday brought to you by Glory Days Grill. All of these are bets, betting everything, same odds. Would you rather bet Willard to make a Final Four or bet it all on an arbitrary spring training baseball game today? Everything you have.
10 years to make a Final Four. I'm betting Willard.
I am going to 2. And maybe I'm just being drunk off of a lovely conversation that we had this morning. And him, but yeah. And especially after
Very likable guy.
Especially after the day that I had yesterday and how stressed I was over $20. I somehow felt like I was stealing money. This wasn't like any old bet to me. Mm-hmm. This was like you were stealing money from someone because you bet on a spring training bet. Oh God, I was so alive. I felt it. Would you rather bet? Yeah, keep doing bets. Would you rather you got to bet everything on one of these 3 teams winning a Super Bowl in the next 5 years? Ravens, Bengals, Browns.
That's a tough one. Definitely not the Browns, but Joe Burrow is a Super Bowl quarterback. He's a guy who's going to win a Super Bowl or 2. I think the Ravens I'm going to say Ravens. I just feel like they're determined to go out there and win it this year.
Okay.
I really do.
All right. Everybody's in agreement on that. And I get it. You're talking about the Browns and the Bengals. I understand. That's really what we're saying. I think from a pure football perspective, you'd probably have to say the Bengals, but I certainly understand the argument. They're still the Bengals, right?
Yeah.
But my God, look at what they did. Aaron brought this up the other day. Look at what they did on the offensive line. They're very quietly having an excellent offseason, and they were already really good to begin with. Like, I think separating emotion, you would end up having to say the Bengals. And then the last one, would you rather bet on Gonzaga to win it all or bet on St. Peter's to win one more game against Purdue?
Gonzaga.
Okay.
I already got them winning it all anyway in my bracket. They're the best team in college basketball. And I don't think it's
They've been a little shaky
close.
in both of these games. They've been a little shaky. I don't have them winning their next game. I have them losing to UCLA now. We don't know. I don't know if there's an update on Jaquez yet and whether or not he's going to play. I do think that's significant. Wait, is that the next? No, I screwed that up. They're in a different region. Why did I say Gonzaga was playing UCLA? Who's Gonzaga playing? They're playing Arkansas. That's who they're playing. And I don't have them beating Arkansas either. I have Arkansas winning that game in my bracket. So, I because of that, I would go with St. Peter's. I know Purdue looks good, but it's one game. And they've already beaten a really good. They already beat Kentucky. There's no reason for me to think they couldn't do it. I get it. It's never happened before. You're betting on something that's literally never occurred. But as been pointed out, both Oral Roberts and Florida Gulf Coast were very much right in their Sweet 16 games with a chance to win. So I'm betting one of these two. Gonzaga's never won a national championship. A 15 seed has never won a Sweet 16 game. One of them involves one game. The other one involves 4. So less variables.
I get it.
I'm going with St. Peter's. That's where my bet's going to be.
Imagine that high if St. Peter's pulls that off.
It's
too.
exactly. Oh, my God. Oh, no doubt. It would be amazing. It's exactly what Andrew Steck has said. Fewer variables to play with. One game over winning 4. John Proctor says Gonzaga is the safer money, but he's still rooting for St. Peter's. Most people are going with the spring training game. That's a really weird thing. Most everyone that's responded so far has decided they would rather bet everything they have on a random, arbitrary spring training matchup than on Kevin Willard making a run to the finals.
Just how disenchanted people have become with the program.
I get it, man. I get it. Continue to get me your responses. I'm sorry. I know it's sort of a bastardized version of Would You Rather Wednesday today because we just had such an insanely busy day. But we will still hook up somebody with a $25 gift card to Glory Days Grill. All right, when we come back in, tidbit, tubular to wrap up what has been a day. It is Glenn Clark Radio.
Sports fans, the wait is over. The all-new FanDuel Sportsbook is now open at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover, Maryland. This is your chance to win big right in your own backyard. Bet on every sport with self-service kiosks and watch all of the action from the best seat in the house. Make every moment more at the all-new FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit mdgamblinghelp.org.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Glory Days Grill's St. Patrick's menu is now in full swing, and it's their most popular seasonal menu all year. New in 2022 are their smoky thigh wings with Guinness grilling sauce, a house-made Guinness barbecue sauce. Fan favorites also include their corned beef and cabbage, the shepherd's pie with Guinness braised ground beef, the Glory Days Reuben, and the Rachel. Enjoy a pint of Guinness or Guinness Baltimore Blonde. The St. Patrick's menu is available for the whole month of March. Come in for great food, cold beer, and basketball. Find out more about Glory Days Grill and get your order in online at glorydaysgrill.com.
The newest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, we celebrate the 20th anniversary of Maryland men's basketball's 2002 NCAA Tournament Championship, as Gary Williams reflects on how the program rose from the ashes of NCAA sanctions to the pinnacle of the sport, and why his perspective of the title run has changed now 2 decades later. Plus, Juan Dixon, Lonnie Baxter, and the rest of the team relive the moments that ultimately led them to cutting down the nets in Atlanta. Press Box is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores. And you can always find the entire edition, as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
The Toyota Tacoma comes in a wide range of models and trim lines. You can choose the perfect Toyota to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today.
If you miss anything, don't forget that you can find whole shows later on Spotify, Apple, or Amazon Podcast. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
Join a proud new generation of Baltimore police and make an active difference in your community. Start with competitive wages and excellent benefits on day one. Join for good at bpdrecruit.org. Paul and I are talking about this off the air. It's very awkward whenever we get into Orioles conversations because both things are true. There is warranted criticism. There is, in trying to be objective about it, criticism that maybe is unwarranted. And I struggle with that because it's easy to just always dump on the Orioles. And I'm not going to tell you that I don't understand that or that I even necessarily have a problem with it because I get it. I get it. That's the reputation that they have earned over the span of, the better part of 2.5 decades, despite the fact that they had a stretch in there that we all like to kind of conveniently forget about where they were the winningest team in baseball for 5 years.
And we're in the top half of payroll in the league.
Yes. I mean, half. But, let's not oversell that. They weren't in the top 5.
They had $160 million payroll in
right.
Baltimore.
I hear you. So it's tough sometimes to parse what's fair criticism, what's unfair criticism of the Orioles, because we all kind of operate as though all criticism of the Orioles is fair criticism because they stink, right? As I said, fair criticism is not sending the broadcast teams on the road. It's a joke. It's an utter and complete joke. There is nothing. If you are at such a penny-pinching place that you can't do it and hide behind the idea of there still being some sort of COVID issue, then no. Then I do have to question whether or not you can lead the team. If their internal argument was, it's just a little bit more money we could save that we could spend when we matter. Like, we're all kind of in on this. We know the team's not good. Why spend that money now? Why not wait, save up as much money as we can in all aspects, and spend that money when it matters? I would still have a problem with it, but I would understand it'd be a wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Dude, do you really care if the broadcasters are on the road? Are you even going to be watching the broadcasts? They couldn't ever say that publicly, of course. They could never do that. But if internally they were feeling something like that, if I was sitting in a board meeting, right, and that came up, I might be like, oh, okay, I get it.
What's one more year?
Yeah. Now, if there's got to be a light at the end of the tunnel, right?
Yeah.
Like it's got to be that you're actually doing it. I can't escape it right now. I'm going to fairly criticize him over that. That's nonsense. It's utter nonsense for the broadcasters to not be at the games. Utter and complete nonsense.
And kudos to Dan Connolly for calling him out and said, because a lot of
it'd be
people could
very
have
easy-
taken towed the company line.
It'd be very easy for him, needing the access, needing to just sort of say, look, here's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. That's the end of it. The arbitration thing is tough for me. And it's sort of the reason why I was going to let you do it with Drew is because I just genuinely have gotten to a point where I don't care as much, but I still understand. Specifically with Trey Mancini. Why is it worth this? What is it worth? Is it really worth $600,000 to you to end up having a bunch of people pissed off at you? Because this is I'm trying to teach my son about lying right now because he's struggling with it.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that I always say about lying is you're only going to be able to get away with it for so long.
Exactly.
I'm not telling you, I don't try to teach him. You can tell me however you feel about my parenting. I'm not even trying to teach him about how lying is wrong. What I'm trying to teach him is you're not going to get away with it for that long.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get caught. Yes, the reason why you shouldn't lie is because it's not right, but the real reason why you shouldn't lie is because you're going to get caught. You can't keep it up. People are going to figure out your lies. It's going to happen. Whether you get away with it for a little while and it sort of feels like that when I have this conversation. Is it worth it? Because somebody's going to find out. They're going to find out that you're fighting with Trey Mancini over $600,000. You can only get away with it for so long until somebody finds out.
Mm-hmm.
And when they find out, they're going to be pissed. And was the $600,000 worth it for the negative publicity that you're going to get out of it? I think you know how I feel my answer is.
Yeah.
So I side closer to Drew. But when you say it's just not, I just don't get all that worked up about it. Yeah, I probably don't get all that worked up about it. But do we still have a responsibility of saying, yeah, but it's not, that ain't good. It ain't good. It's only bad, right? Even if we say we're closer to neutral, there's no way that it's a positive. Well, it can only be bad.
You look at this team and what they did last year with the arbitration process and asking Mancini, his first year coming off of chemo.
Right.
Asking him and Anthony Santander to defer $2 million and $4 million.
I know what you're saying.
That's a bad look.
I know what you're saying.
Undercutting him by a few $100,000. Every team does that.
I know what you're saying, and I get that. I get you. There's a big difference between having separate numbers and specifically a player like Trey Mancini going to him and saying, "Okay, that's your number. We can do this. We don't need to go to the pro. We don't."
And they should. I agree that I agree with everybody that they should give Trey Mancini what he asked for. But the fact that they didn't, I'm not going to.
And I just don't.
This is the straw for me. Like, it's just.
And I think we're lumping John Means in, but I don't think we're all that offended by the John Means thing. I think it really is about Trey Mancini, and it's unique to not just. It's not just about cancer. It's also about the way that he has stepped up as a community leader in a miserable, woeful time for this franchise.
Yeah, trust me, I get it. I just
right, like, dude, it's $8 million. Just pay the goddamn money. You know what I mean? Like that's all it comes down to for me. But yes, am I freaking out about it? No, I'm not losing my mind. I wouldn't have sent a single tweet about it yesterday, and then I saw you going back and forth with everybody, and I was like, we're gonna have to talk about it. I get where you're coming from. And I say this all the time about things like you can't be surprised by them, but we still have a responsibility to say, even if we're not surprised, is something right or wrong, right? And I do think that this is a wrong. I'm not going to shout it from the mountaintops. I'm not going to lose my mind over it. It's not going to make me I really got to think about whether or not I can support this organization. I'm not doing any of that. I'm not throwing in hyperbole for the sake of throwing in hyperbole. But right or wrong, it's wrong. It's wrong.
And to another part of this whole thing, people are going to have to get on board. Maybe you don't have to get on board. Maybe that's what sends you away. But get used to the idea that after this year, and probably for a part of this year, Trey Mancini's not going to be here.
Probably.
Yeah,
I mean,
look, you got to get on board with that.
Is there some world where Trey just really wants to be here so badly that he says, like, this is the awkward part, right? Because Adam Jones specifically would have wanted to stay here, but they had just decided it's not happening. There's no dollar amount at which you're staying here. You could say you're playing for $1 million. You ain't staying here. We're moving on. That's the way that it's going. I don't know that it would be that simplistic with Trey Mancini. I do think that there could be a number at which, if he was just so desperate to be here, he would be here. Because as I said before, you're never going to convince me that it's going to be worth trading Trey Mancini.
Mm-hmm.
They're
not going to get anything.
You're just not getting anything for Trey Mancini. So if you can't trade him for anything of value, and he really does want to stay, I think there could be a world in which you say, we can make this work. Like, we can do this. Now, it's also possible that Trey is like, why would I want to do that? Like, it's one thing to say you can't get anything for a trade, but there might be a team that is still willing to pay him actual money. And if that's the case, then he'll go there. And he'll play for that team moving forward.
And the real conversation that people need to have, and look, you're walking a fine line. I'm walking a fine line when I say this. 2019 Trey has a spot on this team. 2021 Trey, God love him and God bless him for everything he went through. And 2021 Trey doesn't have a spot on the future.
But be fair, he was coming back from what he was coming back from.
And that's why I say I walk a fine line with this.
You'd have to see what he looks like this season.
You have to see who he is.
Exactly right. All of those things. All right. Tidbit is brought to you today by the print issue of Press Box. Obviously, we've talked a lot about Maryland basketball. They're hoping to get back to this point 20 years ago. Gary Williams winning the national championship. We celebrate that anniversary inside this issue. You can pick it up free at your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find Press Box, or read it all at PressBoxOnline.com.
All right, so I did this for yesterday.
All right, we had to save it, yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, the story of spring training is something different now, but the story of Orioles spring training this season is not necessarily the team as a whole, but rather the young prospects that are in camp. Adley Rutschman is either number 1 or number 2 prospect in all of baseball in every publication. Grayson Rodriguez is the top pitching prospect in baseball, and D.L. Hall is one of the top 10 left-handed pitching prospects. And that's before we mention guys like Kyle Stowers, who is still registering eye-popping exit velos, or Colton Cowser, who simply hits everything and is taking big league caliber at bats. The Orioles have been fairly well represented over the years in Rookie of the Year voting. Since 2002, Rodrigo Lopez, Jorge Julio, Daniel Cabrera, Trey Mancini, and John Means have all finished top 3 in AL Rookie of the Year voting in their respective years, and that's without mentioning Nick Markakis 6th in 2006, Brian Mattis 5th in 2010, Wei-Yin Chen 4th in 2012, Ryan Mountcastle 8th in 2020, and 6th in 2021.
I'm not really sure what any of that means. I'm just being honest. I don't really know
that the Orioles.
No. I understand factually what it means. Like, I'm trying to think. Like, what's the next statement? Like,
the next statement is the Orioles.
They've had the guys that we thought were good, but the majority of them didn't really end up being all that. Like, I don't really know what
guys that were good enough as rookies that they garnered.
But read that list of names again. Like, how many of them proved to be really good players?
Nick Markakis was a really good player.
Of course.
Wei-Yin Chen was a really good player for the Orioles.
He was very briefly, and it was a very unique. But he was a very unique circumstance. He wasn't really a rookie. He was just a rookie in America.
And Ryan Mountcastle,
yes, we have a thought that he might be that guy.
Trey Mancini, John Means, they're legitimate.
Okay, Mancini means fine. Right,
Lopez, Julio, and Cabrera, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the list started with. Was
right. The Orioles have 4 players who could legitimately make a run at Rookie of the Year in 2022, and Rodriguez, Hall, Rutschman, and Stowers once they debut. And Cowser could have the opportunity to make some noise in 2023, along with Kobe Mayo, should 2022 go as expected. Which Orioles have won Rookie of the Year awards, and who was the last to do it? There are 2 that I don't expect you to get.
Oh, I used to know this off the top of my head. I mean, obviously Cal did.
1982.
Oh, God. I swear to God I used to know this. Was it Greg Olson that won it?
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
He was the last one to do it in 1989. Okay. You have
he was the last. Well, yeah, that in 1989. Yeah, sure. Eddie won.
Eddie in 1977. There's one more that I think you could get, and 2 that I'd be shocked.
The funny thing is, I think I know one of the ones that you'd say you'd be shocked by. I think Ron Hansen.
Ron Hansen, he was
a
the first.
Rookie of the Year, and it's funny because again, I go back to I used to know like by memory. I used to know these things, and I could have told you that Ron Hansen was the first Rookie of the Year in Orioles history. I believe the other one that you think I would get is Al Bumbry.
Yes,
right?
1973.
And you're right that I am struggling with who the other one was. You're right that I'm, and specifically because you said it's somebody that you didn't think I was going to get. Because my guesses would have been guys that would have been more.
Yeah.
What year was it?
1965.
65. Nah, go ahead.
I'm going to pronounce his name wrong, I know it, but it's Hank Blefary.
Oh, Kurt Blefary. Yeah, sure.
His name is Hank.
I don't know who Hank Blefary would be, but Kurt Blefary was definitely the answer. I don't know who the heck Hank. I mean, maybe he went by Hank at some point. I don't know. I've never heard that, but it's definitely Kurt Blefary.
Oh, it's Kurt Blefary. I don't know. Maybe because yesterday was my stepdad's birthday and his name is
there
Hank.
you go. Maybe that's what it was. I don't know, but yes, it's definitely Kurt Blefary. There's no
Hank
question about that. Yeah, I got to be honest with you. I don't know either, pal. I don't know either.
It's a weird day.
All right, Tubular brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel. Of course, we will be there for the title game, and it'll be myself and Rodney Elliott hanging out with you, having fun, trying to help you win money with great giveaways. Please don't forget, if you're a Live Rewards member and you make a $50 or more bet on any NCAA tournament game, you can win a $500 bracket bonus. If you're not a Live Rewards member, when you're there in the FanDuel Sportsbook, just stop by the window and say, I want to join Live Rewards, and they'll get you signed up. Then when you make your bet, all you got to do is register it on their website. 10 Live Rewards members are winning $500 bracket bonuses whether or not your $50 bet hits. So if your $50 bet hits on a big dog, you can cash in big on that and get a $500 bracket bonus. It goes through the end of the tournament. So even championship game bets, again, as long as they're $50 or more on the game, can be registered if you're a Live Rewards member in order to win. Here's what's coming up totally tubular-wise for the rest of the day and the evening. As Paul pointed out, you will be able to watch the Orioles. I mean, if you have a smart TV, you can watch it on TV. Otherwise, you can watch it on your phone or wherever, as they are the MLB TV free game of the day today. They take on the Yankees at 6:30. Kyle Bradish on the mound against Davy Garcia. So that's a little interesting. One of the more thought-of pitching prospects, if there's something you want to see there. That's 6:30 tonight. Penn and Maryland women's lacrosse at 7 o'clock on Big Ten Network. The Loyola women have a big one against Princeton on ESPN+. Nets Grizzlies 7:30 on ESPN. Sixers Lakers at 10 on ESPN. TNT's got Penguins Sabres at 7:30. Blackhawks Ducks at 10. Round one of the match play event gets underway today at 2 on the Golf Channel. Miami Open continues on the Tennis Channel right now. MLB Network, Rays Braves at 1, Athletics Cubs at 4, Brewers Reds at 9. ESPN2 has some college hoops, CBI and NIT, and TBS for AEW Dynamite at 8 as well. Some non-sports highlights.
Your favorite, Joe Jonas, is going to be on.
He was great
the Tonight
in this season of Gemstones. He was tremendous, of course, in Gemstones this season.
You've got the Goldbergs, the Wonder Years, the Connors, Home Economics, and the Chase from 8 through 10 on ABC. The Murder Tapes and Signs of a Psychopath on Investigation Discovery, and stuff and things. Not a lot of great programming on Wednesday nights.
Very good. And if you missed any of this show, you should probably listen to it because you missed a lot. Thanks today to, I'm going to go through it, Drew Forrester. It was our big time note. Thanks to Drew. Thanks also, of course, to Kevin Willard, to Marcus Williams, to Pat Ricard, and to Marcus Spears. We will get all of that up in the greatest hits section of the
Archives
tab at glennclarkradio.com. And, of course, we get to follow that up by singing, coming up tomorrow, Kyle Stackpole. I love Kyle. He's a good guy. He covers the NFL draft. He's a former intern here. He covers the NFL draft now for CBS. We'll do a weekly draft segment with him. And then we've got some other significant, in fact, irons in fires that we're working on for the next couple of days. Want to thank not only Paul, who obviously you can follow on Twitter at Paul Valley III, but Ryan Schell, who worked very hard in putting together a day like this today, as he's back with us in a consultant's role at Ryan Schell 87 is how you follow him. Of course, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Glenn Clark Radio. Thanks to all of our sponsors and partners as well. Everybody at Pressbox, the great folks at Glory Days Grill, Royal Farms, Baltimore Police, Grade 8's Memorabilia, Live Casino and Hotel, Underdog Fantasy Football, Blue Line K9, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Have a great Wednesday night. Go Maryland Women's Lacrosse. Go Loyola Women's Lacrosse. Duke sucks. Ohio State sucks too.